Seems like everything's working. Looks good to me. Hello, one and all, and welcome to we're back. We're back with Movie Club. We took like 2 weeks off, mainly just because of Thanksgiving, and we also did a full month of horror movies. So we just took 2 weeks, but we're back watching some movies, and we got some great ones. Though they are pretty devastating. Well, the first one is pretty devastating. But it is still a great movie to watch. I'm here with the lovely Alagaer.
Hello, hello.
And we might have Azera might show up a little bit later. I don't know 100% yet, but that's all right. We'll figure that out. But yeah, how have you been, Alagaer? It's been a little while since. Well, it's been 2 weeks. I mean, since we played
It
Project Zomboid.
yeah. It was definitely a struggle to make the PowerPoint that we'll be using today. And my God, props to you for being able to do this every single time, because I don't think I could.
it's a, I just know we need visuals, and so I know I need to
Oh
do
yeah.
them. So, but no, I read through most of them, and you did a very great job at it. So I'm
Thank
excited
you.
to discuss this, and this is while this is a very tragic event that takes place, it's also a very important one to talk about. So it's uh
It
it's
worked
nice
out.
to talk about. It works out. That's how it goes. So, but yeah. So, for people that don't know, well, it's in the title of my stream, but we're talking about Schindler's List today and Nausicaa, the Valley of the Wind. Uh, One is a very real depiction of World War II for the Jewish people, and the other one is anime. Well, it's still Studio Ghibli, so you know
Mhm.
it's amazing at anime and it looks really nice. But yeah, so yeah, those are the two, and usually I like to start off with a question so that we could just get the ball rolling with the discussion. And I actually did think of one before we started. What besides
Um,
Schindler's List? Because obviously this is Juror's choice. What are some like other like either dramas or like historical movies do you like? Stuff like that.
the when it comes to history, I tend to nerd out quite a bit. I like to say that it is definitely my cup of tea, depending on the subject, obviously. As far as other history movies go, usually World War II has always been it's a big genre that people tend to do movies about because it's very easily um there's a lot of like information and details that go that have been recorded, um and like witness accounts and all this other stuff, to where it's like, oh, you can gather a lot to make a movie. Like there's what is it, like, I think Band of Brothers is a really big one
Yeah.
that's out there. Pianist is another one that is very similar to Schindler's List, but follows a different story. um
I know there's the boy in the
there's
striped pajamas.
Yeah, that's another one, that is a movie as well. I mean, it really depends. You've got, like, there are 2 different genres, I think, of World War II movies that are out there. You've got the ones that specifically follow the journey, of the Holocaust, and, like,
Mm-hmm.
people who, uh, survived through it, um, and just how it goes from, like, A to B. Or you have the more war side of it, which is usually, I wanna say a majority of the movies are like, I feel like it's more like American history than anything. Um, it is like when America comes into World War II. And then you've
Yeah.
got like, oh, it's like, okay, you've got the depictions of like D-Day and the depictions of everybody trying to make it to like Berlin. And so I feel like those two are kind of the big main like genres and stuff that go on. There
Yeah,
was an
definitely.
Italian movie I watched that was about World War II. It was such a long time ago. I really don't remember it. But I know it's like I want to say it's either a French or an American pilot ends up crash landing in a tiny town in Italy, and this woman picks him up and basically like kind of like saves him. And I don't know if it's real or not, but I know it's like a historical, I think it's like a historical romance or something along those lines. But I just remember it being something like that to where it was like a pilot that crash landed in like Italy at some point. But I don't know if it was World
Yeah.
War One or two. I forget. But yeah, no, history tends to be my strong suit. So I nerd out quite a bit.
I I'm not the biggest on dramas. I'm I don't I don't really watch them as much, but I do enjoy, weirdly enough, the biopics that usually come out, usually about like musicians and stuff. So
Mhm.
so I like Bohemian Rhapsody. I really love Rocket Man. Rocket Man great little was a great movie. I loved that one a lot. I've seen
Interesting.
Yeah, I've seen Ray about can't believe I can't believe I'm literally blanking on his name. Uh but the blind like pianist, um not Stevie Wonder, the other one. Uh but I love those kinds of movies. I don't know. Those ones are uh interesting to me because you see like the uh usually you see like a rise and a fall between them, and like the struggles that they go through in life and everything like that. um and then there was I strangely really like the one, Get On Up, which follows James Brown. And I like that one because, first of all, the it's Chadwick Boseman is he plays James
Mhm.
Brown, but they don't try to make him a nice guy, because he was not a nice guy. He was an asshole to basically everybody that he was ever with, and they don't really try to be all like, oh no, he was a nice guy, just ignore that stuff. They like bring to light like he beat his wife and everything, and
Yeah.
yeah, and everything like that. And so I don't know, and obviously they go over the part where, he went crazy with a shotgun after his son's death and everything. Um and like that, I don't know, I strangely like that one just because it's, uh like I said, it doesn't really hide the bad things that he did. Um, but yeah, I want to say for the Ray movie it was Ray Charles, but
Interesting.
I'm not sure. I don't know why I'm like second guessing myself. I literally watched it.
Yeah.
Um,
No, see, I haven't seen any of the ones. Like I've seen the trailers for them and they look really like cool, like I would watch them, but I feel like when they came out, it was just like oh, like I'll wait till it comes out later, and then I ended up never watching it. So I haven't seen any of the ones like that. But
the
I know what you're talking about,
yeah.
like the ones for like the Queen movie, and then
Hmm.
um I don't know if it's actually come out yet. I know there is a Weird Al Yankovic movie coming out.
Yeah, that one's out.
Um,
It's on Roku. I watched it. It's fucking
okay. Yeah, I know
hilarious.
that
Watch
one's
that one.
out.
Do
And
watch that one.
then yeah, there's a couple of them that are out there.
So I also, me and my mom went and saw now I'm blanking on her name. Wait, coming to me. Aretha Franklin. The Aretha Franklin movie.
Mm,
Yeah, that
there's
was.
another one too.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, was it an Amy there's an Amy Winehouse movie too that's
Probably,
out, I
I
think.
think so. There's also a Whitney Houston one. I haven't watched that one.
Mhm.
But But the Aretha Franklin one, that one's Respect. Um,
Mhm.
on the way to the movie theater, I'm talking to my mom, and I'm all like, "Yeah, all of them are like. Well, I'm interested to see what like sad stuff's in her life and everything like that, and all this." And my mom's all like, "I don't think there was that much sad stuff in her life." Yada yada. We go first 10 minutes. She's giving birth. Uh, as a child, and we're all like, "Oh, I'm literally at the end of the movie." I look at my mom and I'm like, "Yeah, no bad stuff, right?" Fucking the worst things in that. Um, but that one was still a good movie. I still recommend all those movies because you get an insight of addiction and like the thought process and the like both being famous and the pressure, everything like that, and so it's an interesting. Those are always interesting to me, but
Yeah.
yeah, cool. Well, it's nice to I didn't know you were a World War II buff, but it's nice to know that. So if I ever need
It's
facts,
yeah, so it depends. I think like probably know more about World War II than one, but they both follow in the same kind of like line and stuff. So I know they're probably the most modern history that I know of. If I've been anything, I've always been like a classical history buff. So like ancient Rome, ancient Greece, ancient Egypt. Um I don't know a whole lot about Samaria, but it's like I know a little bit about that. Um the Scandinavian countries and like the Vikings and stuff like that. And then early English history, I think, is what I also know too. But it's been a while since I've done since I've done anything with that. So if like you ever ask any question, it might take me a little bit to do some research. I'm like, oh yeah, here I've got the answer for you. So yeah.
nice. I I like like Egyptian mythology and stuff like that. That's always a fun thing to go over, especially with Egyptians because they all have the different gods and everything like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I clearly know Egyptian history because The Mummy and The Mummy Returns are some of my
Oh yeah.
favorite movies. So I'm so knowledgeable
All you need to
on
know
Egyptian
right there.
history. Yep. All I know is that the Egyptians truly were magical, and their gods actually exist from the Mummy movies. That's all I learned.
Yeah, that's all you need to know too.
Okay, are you ready?
I am as ready as I'll ever be.
Okay, let's do this.
All
Uh, I'll
right.
s- I'll just say this now. Obviously, chat. We're not going to joke around about any of this. This is very real. We'll start making jokes or shit like that when we get to Nausicaa. You know where it's all fantasy. But in
Yeah.
this
We got to get
beginning kind of
through the serious sad stuff first, and
yeah.
then we'll get through the cutesy animation that we're saving for last. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
So we're not gonna end on a down note. So
No. Keep
so
you in excuse me if I can speak English. Keep you in high spirits. Lord have mercy. All right. So I guess starting us off, Schindler's List. So this is a movie that has been directed by Steven Spielberg and was written by Steven Zalanian, I believe. That's how you pronounce his name.
Zali, I don't know, Zelenian or something.
Zalanian, yeah.
I'm terrible with names.
Um, yeah. I went ahead and I did a trigger warning for you guys, which Trey
Yes,
already
yes.
explained. Um, just kind of going over with it due to the graphic and horrific nature of this movie, especially the stuff that is based off of. There's a lot of content that might not be suitable for people. It is a rated R movie as well. So there's a lot of blood, there's a lot of nudity, there's violence. Obviously, this was a particularly very bloody and devastating um part of world history. Um, Especially with this movie, I decided to not do any clips just because of the fact of that it is very hard to find stuff that either YouTube and or Twitch would allow. And so just kind of keeping it at least as PG as possible. Um, I didn't add any of that stuff. There are pictures, um, not necessarily of like any. There's some stuff of the movie, but a lot of it doesn't go through um, a lot of like the treatment and stuff that the Jews faced. So you won't really see any like dead bodies. I don't believe there's any blood in here. It is a black and white movie, so even with that,
Yeah.
I don't believe there's any like depictions of stuff. I think there might be one picture that I put in here that kind of goes through like a symbolism because this movie has a lot of symbolic elements put into it. Um, but if you guys ever do watch the movie, it is very brutal. It is very emotionally devastating. There are a lot of killings and murders that are shown in the movie. A lot of like derogatory and anti-Semitic stuff that is being said. Um, so like Nazi commanders will compare like Jews to rats.
Hmm.
There's tons of scenes where children are just like outright, shot and killed. So a lot of these scenes are shocking and grisly, but it is what occurred during World War II, which is why a lot of people who have said that they have watched this movie have said that it is like a first look into what actually happened
Yeah.
for this stuff. It is also, which I think we can go to the next slide as well.
Okay.
So, like for movie details, this movie is based off of a book written by Thomas Kennelly, I believe is how you say his last name. It was originally called Schindler's Ark, and it is a biographical novel that was created with a Holocaust survivor named Poldik Pfefferberg, I believe. I'm
Oh,
probably
yes.
butchering. I'm really bad.
They were
But
in the movie.
mhm, yeah, Poldik was a Schindler Jew. Um, they were one of the ones that was actually able that worked in the factory that Schindler had and was actually able to survive the Holocaust. The book was published in 1982. And then the movie that we watched was actually released in 1993. Um, the very interesting thing is that there wasn't really a lot of like there wasn't a lot of movies about World War II, obviously because it's a very sensitive subject. And there wasn't a lot of like documentary stuff that was going on that focused on like survivor kind of stories. Like there was stuff going on, but there was never um it was very difficult to get their stories out, especially in like media formats, from what I read. Um they had actually some of the Jews wanted their stories to be heard, but it was very difficult to get writers to agree to something this serious.
No.
And it took them a really, really long time. And even for the author of Schindler's Ark, it took a lot of convincing um, to get him to write this book um, and to publish it.
Yeah.
So,
Do you mind if I take? I just wanted to say two
yeah,
things
go
real
ahead.
quick.
Go
All right.
ahead. Yeah.
First of all, if you're obviously we've done horror movies in the past, like with blood, and like we. The reason we're not doing clips is mainly even though. Even though we've done horror movies in the past, which have had blood, gore, all that, and those are fine. Those are all fictional. That is why. Whereas, and there's like a disconnect, and you can make fun of it because you know it's fake. This was real, so the reason why we're not doing clips for this one is because for some people it's too much. I mean, it's still
Yeah.
a great movie. It's very important and you should watch it, especially if you're learning about World War II. But that's the reason we're not going to do clips and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Yeah,
this
no,
was
feel free to stop me anytime too, by the way. I tend to
it's all good.
tend to go off on stuff, but yeah, no. This I feel like while also not showing clips and just showing like stills and stuff from the movie, um if you guys are interested all of like seeing what these actually scenes were uh like I implore you to go watch this movie. That has like a lot of really good reviews because of how it was directed and how it was filmed, even though it is a very horrific thing to watch and experience as a viewer. um it's very enlightening, I would say.
Yeah. And the second part that I want to bring up, if you're wondering, damn, why are you guys doing such a sad movie, and stuff like that, I want to come here and hear jokes and like have fun and stuff like that. Yeah, movies aren't all like that. The point of movie club is to get a wide variety of movies, maybe even ones we haven't seen before, and also this is a very important thing that we should watch. And even though it's very serious and very tragic to see, like, it's important to watch this and learn from it and and like have empathy for the people that went through this type of stuff. And so the reason why I like the reason I allowed this movie and stuff was like that, because sometimes we have to get into serious discussions, and like this was very serious, and is still serious today, because obviously the Holocaust Museum and everything like that. But the entire point of movies is to provide a dialogue for some things, even if it's just for fun and everything like that. So, and this is just a great way to be able to visualize what's going on. Because when I was growing up, all we heard was, like, obviously we heard stories about World War II. We heard, like, we read history books and stuff like that. But especially in elementary school, you don't get the full experience of what happened or anything like that. You, in America at least, mainly for elementary school, it's, oh yeah, there's a big war going on, and then once America joined, we won. That's kind of it for like elementary school
Yeah,
level.
it's a
So
very child friendly. Obviously, as you go through like your learning kind of levels, and you get older, it's like you start to learn more details. But even in high school, it's like they don't really show movies to this degree because of how like violent and real they are.
yeah,
Band of Brothers is another war movie, and a lot of veterans who saw that movie said that it is the most realistic movie that has ever come to portraying what actually happened that day, as well as like all the feelings and stuff that went through it. Like you can feel the stress and stuff that these people were going through by watching these movies. And the same thing is for like Schindler's List. It's very emotional, and a lot of people, even though we are in a different like time, still feel like the emotional stresses that these people are feeling through a screen. Um and it's kind of like that level of empathy where you connect with people, even though like you'll never really know their true experience. It's still very distressing for people.
yeah. And like unless you have a good teacher in high school. I did see this in high school. I watched this in high school, but unless you have a good teacher that wants to like truly show you like what happened and stuff like that, most teachers wouldn't play this. But I was
Mhm.
lucky enough to uh be able to see this movie in high school and realize what everyone like, and just see what everyone went through and everything like that. and not everybody gets that. So there are people alive that have never seen this movie and truly don't think it was as bad as it was. There's obvious, and we have people that literally deny that the Holocaust even happened. So yeah,
Yeah.
and that's just terrible, especially since we already know we have thousands upon thousands of accounts of what happened, and
And like evidence and stuff like that. Yeah.
yeah, and evidence and stuff, and fucking uh and after the war, Germany did like an amazing job of, you know what, we're not going to allow we're not going to allow Nazi paraphernalia and everything like that because it was a stain on their history, and they realized that. And
Yeah, it's not like they would deny it because
no,
it happened. And I do know Germany has like very, very strict like laws when it comes to um like Nazi kind of like ideology and propaganda and stuff.
yeah, and so, but that's I just want to go quickly on a little tangent with that because this is
Yeah.
why we are doing it. And
Mm-hmm.
so, uh,
Yeah.
this is
Sorry
why we're
guys,
doing it.
this was my movie review. You guys can, hate me
Don't
as well
d-
for my historical nerding out here. This is
don't be
my
sorry in the
pick.
slightest.
So,
This was a great movie. I was surprised by the choice, but it is a great movie, and everyone should give it a watch at some point. So
yeah. I
yeah,
promise the next one is Devil Wears Prada, total opposite of this. Okay,
oh yeah,
guys, I'm not all doom and gloom.
yeah,
Um,
we get to see that next week. So
yeah, yeah. But yeah, so this is based off of a book. Took a really long time to get somebody to publish it and even write about it. Um, Steven Spielberg was even offered to do this movie shortly after the book was written. And I can already see a spelling error here. But he waited 10 years before he even touched and or like decided to actually go ahead with this and film the movie. There's I believe like an interview out there where he talks about how he as a director and producer felt that he was too young in his career and he wasn't mature enough to handle a movie that had such historical importance and that was so serious in nature, that he was worried that what he wanted to portray in the story that he wanted to tell would not come across correctly. So he waited a long time before he even decided to actually go ahead with this. Um,
which good for him.
but
He
yeah,
knew
yeah,
that
right.
he knew he wasn't ready for it, and
Mhm.
once he did, he came back, and this was made an amazing movie. Steven Spielberg
Yeah.
has just made really amazing like movies. So
Oh yeah. Yeah. So he did a really good job with this. Everybody who watches this says that it's like it's got a lot of really good reviews.
yeah,
Um so yeah, the movie was released in 1993, and it lasts for about 3 hours and 15 minutes, which is more than your normal like hour and a half to 2 hour movie.
oh yeah,
But it definitely deserves all the time screen that it gets. Um the setting of the movie takes place in Krakow, Poland, and was also shot around historical locations within Krakow, and I believe it's Plazov, which is a area outside of Krakow.
okay.
Um, I do know there's a little interesting thing that I found out when I was kind of looking up information about this. Um, there are scenes of obviously the concentration camp in here. There were suggestions and I think talks about possibly recording parts of the movie in Auschwitz because Auschwitz is actually really close to where they were filming,
Mm-hmm.
and using actual like historical locations. Um, but it was decided to forget who it was. I think it was actually a organization of like Holocaust survivors, or it was somebody, I don't know if it was actually part of the crew or not, that said it probably wouldn't be a good idea because Auschwitz is a um, death camp, which is different than a concentration camp a little bit, but it was deemed to be better to not actually film in the actual location, just because of how emotional it was for people to actually step foot in this area, as well as just kind of like honoring and respecting the actual like historical significance of the place. So a lot of the scenes that you see in here, while some of them are in the real life locations, were built from scratch to replicate these areas and stuff that were around there. Um, so just as a thing, like going forward, it's like some of the scenes are, you know, accurate. They were filmed in the town. They were filmed in like these different spots. But then when it comes to like the concentration camps, and stuff, those were not actually shot in one, but they were replicated to kind of match the same layout and feel of them.
Yeah, and I think that was a good choice overall. I think if they
Hmm.
did do it at a real concentration, I think you need a little bit of that disconnect with while
Yeah.
doing a film like this. So like
Yeah.
doing it at a real concentration camp, I think would be
It's a little, I think a little too much for
it
people.
is
Yeah.
it would be. But
Yeah.
all right, let's go.
Okay.
Here we go. We got the
Yeah.
plot.
Yeah, so the plot, the main plot of the movie is that during World War II in Krakow, Poland, Oskar Schindler, who is a member of the German Nazi Party, moved into the city to try and make a fortune. His idea was to start an enamelware factory. Um, and be able to kind of make it rich off of like hiring people. Schindler hires Itzhak Stern, which is a Jew and accountant, to help him. Itzhak was also a big member of the Jewish committee that was around. He was the vice president of, um, I think, the community. I actually have the thing on his slide exactly of what he was, but he was a very prominent member of the Jewish community, but he was also, most importantly, an accountant, which is why Schindler hired him.
Yeah.
Um, as the movie progresses, when the SS begins to exterminate Jews in the Krakow ghetto, and basically force them into like the concentration camps, Schindler begins to arrange to have his workers protected from these massacres. And he is trying his best to keep the factory in operation. Um, by like getting them special work passes, but begins to realize that by separating his workers from the concentration camps, he's also saving their lives, which is the kind of big theme that you can see throughout here.
Yeah.
Is that while he begins to realize this a little later in the movie, um, you see that Schindler's factory actually starts to become a haven very, very early on. That by working for this man, he is saving the lives of a lot of Jews that would have otherwise been like shot and killed.
Yeah. And it is actually a little jarring realizing that the main character of this movie is a Nazi.
Mm-hmm.
I think especially if it's the first time you're going through watching it. Um, but I think there you could clearly tell he's not. He's obviously he's not in like doesn't follow their rules or anything like that religiously. Like
Mm-hmm.
a ton of other people during that time. Like you like the very first scene of the movie, besides the candle lighting scene, which we'll go over, is him getting ready to go to that party and like basically friend all of the officers and stuff like that. But he does like
Yeah.
his pin isn't like he's literally just threw his pin in a pile of other like pins and everything that he has. So he had to actually like sort through it to be able to grab it. So clearly he
Yeah.
didn't care that much and stuff like that about the party. He's using it for his own personal gains in the beginning.
Yeah.
I think very quickly you see like he has a change of heart. So
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's kind of the other thing too, is that I think most people will be like, "Oh, well, if he's, a Nazi, he has to hate like the Jews."
Hmm.
There's which obviously you dive deeper into. There's varying degrees, obviously, right? The people that we hear about are the ones who controlled like concentration camps, or are the ones that would actually go out and they would like rat their neighbors out if they knew that they were hiding Jews and stuff. So there's varying degrees of this, and Schindler turns out to be one of the ones who actually veers away from the Nazi party to continue to save, not just his workers, but I feel like the people that he has known for a very long time throughout like the years of the war, has actually, befriended them enough to be like, hey, I'm going to try and keep you guys alive as much as possible. Which seems, when we're talking about it, it seems to be like an easy thing to do, to say like, oh yeah, um, if I were back in the time, I would do that in a heartbeat.
Hmm.
But being somebody who um, would actively go out and help Jews escape or help Jews hide is a very, very dangerous thing.
Yeah.
That if anybody ever found out, like if your neighbor is somebody who you thought you trusted, heard like maybe a rumor that you were possibly like keeping a Jew in your house, or that you let like a Jew escape, or if they saw it happen and they turned you in, it was a death sentence, not only for you, but for your family. And it was
Hmm.
like a very serious thing that a lot of people were too scared, and, rightfully so, um, to do and to commit to. And even in the movie, there is a scene where Schindler is talking to this woman, and this woman basically says, "Your factory is a haven for our people. We're safe in your factory." And
Yeah.
then he confronts Itzhak and says, "This is too dangerous." And it's like, you can't be like spreading this stuff. That if like an SS officer or somebody else who decides to turn him in, like hears these rumors that he's possibly helping these Jews on purpose, it's like that is the end of the line for him.
Yeah.
So it,
and and we also, and we'll probably touch on it later, but like he even
mm,
gets in trouble. He gets arrested for a short amount of time for kissing a Jewish girl, uh, on his, it's like when they were celebrating his birthday and stuff like that. So he gets arrested for a very short time. Since he made powerful friends and everything like that, he gets out.
yeah.
Um, and and obviously bringing up what you said about people believing, oh, if I was back in that day, I wouldn't listen. uh Self-preservation is like the biggest, even just biologically, self-preservation is like the biggest thing when it comes to an organism, and we are organisms. uh so we it becomes those things of, you want to survive, and so, and in this day and age, or in that day and age, uh they brainwash the whole country.
Yeah.
And they literally brainwash, and especially, and they brainwash the young, to basically make them believe that all their problems, all the stuff that they were going through, like all their hardships, was because of the Jewish people, and they blamed
Hmm.
it on the Jewish people. Um, and we see that throughout the movie. They bring up how, at times where like people question their authority, um, they'll bring up like, oh, the Jewish people are like prospering during this time. They're making money and everything like that. While the rest of us are poor and desolate and stuff like that. And it was, they made a us versus them argument, even though the Jewish people, well, obviously not the ones in Poland, but like there were obviously Jewish people in Germany as well. Uh, they were just living their lives just like everybody else, and they were like civilians and everything like that. So it was a deep indoctrination through the whole nation, and it's because like societies want to find a scapegoat in something.
Mm.
If something's not going the right way, they will find a scapegoat. Because I think for a lot of people, it's hard to realize your own failings and stuff like that, and a lot of people have trouble doing that. So if you can
Yeah.
find something to blame it on, people use that as an excuse. So, but
Yeah, and there's World War II is such a very deep, like, you can go down plenty of rabbit holes, of
mhm.
like, oh, this led to this, which led to this, which led to, all these different things. Like, everything's kind of connected. And it's such a big war that there's a lot of tiny pieces um that all contribute to like these different factors. And we could go on and on and on
We
about
really
this,
could.
but we'll try to give it just like small, like little bits. So if you are ever interested into like, oh well, how did this all start? Like, watching these movies, while it is a good way, like actually like going and doing your research of like, how did World War II start? How did the Jews become like the scapegoat, and like why were they like that? And you know all this other information, like, it's a very big rabbit hole that you can spiral down into. And if like you want to know like more in-depth details, I definitely implore you to go to go and research, because there's so much stuff that you can learn, and we're just barely like scraping the surface with this.
True, because I'm not an expert. You are way more of the expert here. I'm just giving my own 2 cents, and some of it's going
Oh
to
yeah.
probably be wrong and at some point. So, uh, I'm not a big history
Yeah.
buff, so I'm the layman in this situation. So, but
Yeah.
but yeah. So,
All right.
it,
So we can I was gonna say, do you have something else?
no, I think we're for the plot summary and going off on a
Yeah.
little bit of a tangent, but whatever.
Yeah.
That'll happen
Okay.
a lot during this one.
Yeah, it definitely will. But all right, so on to the next one, which is just as well, for those who might not be completely up to date. um I thought I'd give you guys a little bit of like, since it is a historical adaptation, and a historical drama and stuff. I thought I'd give you guys just a little bit of the history facts. So I think I'm right. I feel like I wrote 1939 wrong. Anyway, um, there might be some errors in here. Please, do not fault me for this, even though I'm a history buff.
Rough
So the movie
estimations.
takes
It's okay.
place, right? The movie takes place between about the years of like 1938 to 1945, which is the start of the war. 1938, I believe, is when tensions in Europe started to get really high, and Germany started to kind of push the boundaries of what they could and couldn't get away with. And then 1945 is when the actual year is when, yeah, there was an actual like ceasefire. The war's over. Berlin was captured by the Allied powers. Hitler had died, and the war was kind of over. Um, but the movie starts a little bit before the actual war starts. And the first time that Germany decides to invade Poland, which is the official date that World War II starts, was September 1st, 1939. Um, um, so that's kind of the time frame that's going on here. The movie takes place over the course of these years. It doesn't actually list when years start to change, but do know that it is taking place between these years. And the best way that I can actually tell you guys when stuff starts, like, you can kind of see time, is the progression of how quickly um like the lives of the Jews are changing when they get first put into like the ghettos. That is like a time frame, and then when they get booted out of the ghettos, that's a whole nother one. And then like you see at the very end, like the liberation of their concentration camp and like the factory and stuff that they were working at. That is like towards the end of the year. So it's like these big kind of changes within the lives of the Jewish people tends to be well, it doesn't explicitly say it. It is different time periods throughout the war when the treatment of the Jewish people tends to get more and more drastic.
No, it, it gets way more drastic. Oof.
Mm-hmm. Like, yeah, like it is not just a simple oh, over the next couple of weeks, this is what we'll do. It is very, very abrupt. One day you were pushed out of your home, and they talk about this in the movie. It's like one day you were uprooted from the house that you lived in. It now belongs to a German SS officer or somebody who is German or considered to be the Aryan race. You are now pushed into the ghettos where anyone who is Jewish lives. You live in a room that maybe what your family used to live in, you now live in a room with like 12 other people.
Yeah.
And then it's like abruptly after that they kick you out of the ghetto, they move you to these concentration camps, and it is like they do it all within a day in a very, very short amount of time. um so there's a lot of like uprooting of their lives that go on. um
Yeah.
Something else that oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, and in the movie we do see Schindler gets one of their, like, we see this wealthy couple of Jewish people get pushed into the ghetto, and we see Oskar Schindler take over their place. It is now his
Yeah.
home, and he's in there the whole time, like the whole movie. He lives there and stuff like that. So, like, which once again I like, because there, while obviously the people that were saved by Schindler very much love and respect him and everything like that, they still recognized he was human and he had his faults. He was a womanizer. He was, at the beginning, he was in it only for the profit and everything like that. So, and they recognize that. They bring that up. They don't try to hide it, which is a nice thing. But they do show when he has this change of heart and everything like that. So it's nice that they didn't try to make it, oh, he was a saint his whole life.
Yeah,
he was
like it shows like his human transformation towards like realization of what is actually going on, which does a really well job. And it's hard to think. I want to say there's a very similar case in The Boy with the Striped Pajamas. Um, it is it's very difficult, I guess, for some people to trust the accounts of like German citizens when they live in like towns that aren't like that are way from like military bases or something like that, to where they know like kind of what's going on, but they don't know all the details, to where it's like, oh, they know like the Jews have been moved to ghettos. But there were accounts, and I think it shows it in The Boy in the Striped Pajamas, where the towns that were next to these concentration camps had no clue what was going on. Like they didn't know how like the Jews were being treated. They didn't know that like some of these camps were like death camps and extermination camps. Like, it kind of shows that to a certain degree the German population was not fully aware of it, but you also don't know how aware they were. And the movie kind of shows that while all of this stuff is going on and is to a degree public, um Schindler saw that like when they were forcing the Jews out of the ghetto to get onto like trains to go to these concentration camps, like the horrors that were going on, that people were being like shot down in the streets, that it was like extremely like brutal and stuff that was going on, to where it's like I think people realize that it's like, oh, whatever goes on there, it's, whatever. But until you actually see stuff going on, it never like completely like clicks in your brain.
Yeah, no. I'm gonna bring up a fictional show right now, but the context works. Okay, I've been watching The Walking Dead again, recently, and in season 2, the group captures a guy, and basically they're all like, they have to have the debate of do they kill them or do they not, and there's this one character that walks around. His name is Dale. He's like the moral compass of the group. He's saying, no, we can't kill him and everything like that. And he's trying to go to everybody to have someone else like step up and be like, no, we shouldn't kill them. And the reason why I'm bringing this up now is for the for the people that like, as you said, there are people that just didn't know that these death camps were happening or what was truly happening. uh he goes up to Herschel, who owns the farm that they're on at the moment, and he's all like, well, don't we have to have like a discussion, don't you? And Herschel just tells him, no, I don't want to know what they're going to do. It's that thing of, there might be something bad. You might have heard rumors going on of something bad, but you don't want to be associated with it. So you turn your head to it. That's why I brought that up. But
Yeah.
and
That's a really good example because that's exactly why, or at least what we can assume is why, right?
yeah, that's what we can. Obviously, we were not born alive during this time, so we can't tell you for sure. But I'm sure there was plenty who knew and didn't care, and then there was plenty that just refused to
Didn't
see
want to know.
didn't want to know, because it. And it's one of those, with the people that didn't want to know, it's one of those things like, they could have been good people that didn't want to know, in the sense that if they knew that they would want to help, and if they did, that would lead to their own death, going back to the idea of self-preservation and everything like that. So
It's a
it's
lot
sad.
of tough stuff to go on because it's an inner battle kind of with yourself.
Yeah. And if I remember from my history class, you saying about the death camp, like the Allies didn't even know about the camps, right? Until
Yeah, I'm
after the
pretty
war.
sure.
They literally didn't
Yeah.
even know that this was going on until after the war, and they actually go in and see what has
See, like
happened to them.
like it's probably more of a thing where it's like they heard what's going on. They heard that there are areas where Germany is concentrating like all these people to, but they never
Hmm.
knew exactly what was going on. Because from what I assumed, um, because I don't know the whole details. Like these concentration camps were basically like military camps. They were fortified. They had guards on them at all times. Like it was like a prison for the Jewish people. It was as far as I know, a very hush hush kind of thing. It's like maybe the town that like was next to it kind of knew, but it's like people weren't allowed to go up to the fences. People like it was very like two separate kind of entities, and I think that's how um like the German kind of military wanted to keep it.
Yeah,
um
it was very hush hush, because even in the movie, when you're watching it, they talk about, like, the Jewish people that are on trains are literally talking about it and like talking about it as rumors, and we're like, oh, I hear tell that they bring you into a place, have you get naked, they cut your hair, they give you some soap and walk you into a place and say that you're having a shower, but then they it's
yeah,
actually a gas chamber
a
and
gas
stuff like
chamber.
that. Yeah. Um, and we get to see that. Well, we don't see the gas chamber. We see the fear and everything in one of the scenes that we will
Hmm.
definitely be going over later on. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's a lot of it is the fear of unknown as well. It's like you hear like the rumors and you know how you're being treated, and you do as best as you can to make sure that you don't, do something wrong that upsets, the German military, and stuff. But it's like you never really know when your last day is going to be your last. And it's it's very difficult to watch
Hmm.
because this movie does such a good job at presenting those emotions in it.
And if you think it's weird for us to say it does a good job doing like a very horrible thing, the entire point is to make you uncomfortable in this
Yeah.
movie and make you have empathy for everybody. So,
Hmm.
or for the Jewish population. So, like, it does a good job of doing that. Sadly enough,
Hmm. Yeah.
but yeah.
Um,
I think the
All
last
right.
one is the only thing that we had left. Sorry.
Yeah, no, just to kind of brief it up, there's a difference between concentration camps and like death camps. Concentration camps were just meant for like kind of like free and hard labor, and then death camps were purely meant to funnel people in for extermination, whether that was like they would do manual labor and then they probably like would slowly go towards like extermination stuff.
Yeah,
This camp that they were at, which was Krakow Plazov, I
I
believe,
think so. Yeah.
um, is actually not that far off from Auschwitz, which was a death camp. Which, for those who don't know, that is the camp that Anne Frank and I believe her sister were at,
Hmm.
or her mom. I think a part of her family was there. But usually with these camps as well, the when they separated Jewish people, they would separate women and children, and like the elderly into like one line, and then they would put like men into the other, and they would kind of determine who would be workforce and who would go to the gas chambers. And that's how they would kind of like funnel people in with stuff. But yeah, it's a lot of stuff that went on in these camps, but the one that is in Schindler's List is, I believe, as far as it goes, just strictly a concentration camp. It was like a labor camp, not a death camp.
But
Um,
I guess we
yeah.
should also bring up, because actually a lot of history classes bring or like kind of skip over this fact. But America, we didn't have we didn't call them in concentration camps. We called them internment camps. But we had them for
Mhm.
Japanese. Well, I
Japanese
think it was
Americans.
Japanese Americans. But to be truthful, especially during that time, we probably just, if you were Asian, you probably were sent there. Not even if you were
Yeah,
Japanese. So and we had them here, but
yeah. They
obviously they
don't
were
they
not
don't
death camps.
really advertise that
They
as
don't.
much. No,
And
but it was, yeah, it was like when it was after like Japan had bombed, excuse me, bombed Pearl Harbor. America started to set up internment camps to watch out because they weren't sure if there was going to be an attack on the inside from people who were like
yeah,
Japanese like loyalists and stuff. So
two
um
two two
but
quick
yeah.
facts about that though. At
Mhm.
while I don't remember his name, but the guy who did the character designs for the Scooby Doo gang, who created the characters, uh, he was Japanese American, and while in the internment camps is when he came up with the idea for the Scooby Doo gang. And
Really?
two, yeah, no, there's a whole biography book about it, and stuff like that. So I believe that's what uh, my ex had it had that book, and she told me a little bit about that, and it was actually very interesting.
Huh.
I never read it myself, but that's
See,
what she said.
that
Um,
is interesting because I never knew that.
yeah, and then strangely enough, this is not really a fact, but strangely enough, as you said, not many people know about the internment camps, and they don't really like advertise that in America. Strangely enough, the TV show Teen Wolf goes into it.
Yes. Oh my god, don't even get me started on Teen
Oh,
Wolf.
okay, but that's a great show. I watched it all. I watched it all, and then I watched it all with my mom. It's actually a surprisingly good show.
Mhm.
We won't go
It's
into that
so
now,
good.
though. But yeah,
Yeah.
so, but yeah, and then you can
Out
get
of
into it.
out of our little tangent now.
Yes.
Last thing on this stuff because it is important. Um the way that Germany, I think, started to lose the war is Germany was fighting a war on two fronts. You had the
Mhm.
Soviet Union slash Russia at one point in time. I think it was Russia, then the Soviet Union at one point in time that was coming at Germany from the east, and then you had America and Britain coming in from the west. So Germany was fighting a two front war. The reason why this is important is because at the end of the movie, um, when I think all the SS guards start to leave and Schindler is kind of like hurried on his way out is because the USSR, um is it the USSR? I don't know. Russia
I
goes through a whole bunch of phases.
They do go through.
Um But the Soviet Union is coming in from the east, and they're coming through Poland, and they're basically like, but they're killing anybody who's associated with the Nazi Party, and they were just freeing and liberating these camps. They are not really the good guys per se, because the way that
No.
they treated Eastern Europe after this is awful. Um,
Well,
but
also in the movie, when after they get all freed and they're all just sitting on the railroad track, a Soviet Union guy shows up and is all like, "Hey, you guys are all free," and all the Schindler's Jewish people were all like, "Okay, yeah, you gonna do you got food for us, clothes?" He's all like, "There's a town that way," and then he just leaves. So
yeah. Yeah. So they were not the greatest people. I don't actually know how America and Britain handled it. I'd like to assume that it was a lot better than the Soviet Union, but the Soviet Union was very harsh on anybody who was associated with the Nazi Party, whether that was like a I'm assuming like it would could have been they could have just treated the same way that they do like Nazi officers, like as um like anybody like a German citizen. They were not that great. Um but Schindler is hurried out because the Soviet Union is coming in, and they do know that even if he was helping them, the Soviet Union would not care, and they would most likely kill him, even though he did help save like a whole bunch of Jewish people. Um, and that was just how they kind of treated um anybody who was on the enemy side. It
and
didn't
what
really matter if you were the enemy, you were most likely you were gonna you were yeah, they were gonna take care of you.
and we'll probably go over the ending a little bit
Yeah.
later on, but
But
I
just as a little history fact, that's kind of how um the war was ending.
I did think about messaging you about just adding the ending in as a clip because there's no
Oh, I could
death
have
or
done
anything.
that.
That would probably
Yeah.
been like the best one, but we can just talk about it. It's totally fine.
My bad, guys. I'm sorry.
No, it's totally fine. You did an amazing job on this. So yeah,
All right,
now we
so
get to
we
go
can
to the
go on to the next
characters.
one.
Here we go.
Yes. Okay, so Liam Neeson plays Oskar Schindler, which the black and white pictures that I have added in here, those are what the actual people looked like in history. We do have some photos of them. I don't know if there are photos of everybody, but I think I tried to find actual pictures of the people that these actors were playing. So he was in German industrialist, part of the Nazi Party, like we talked about. He saved about like 1,200 lives of Jews by employing them at his enamelware factory and his ammunitions factory during World War II. He was given the Righteous Among Nations Award from the State of Israel, which is an award that is given to people who helped save the lives of Jews, excuse me, during World War II. Um, so a lot of these awards were given out to those who actually risked their lives to help the Jewish population. And then he died October 9th, 1974.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever
Oh,
actually
sorry.
seen a picture of Oskar Schindler. I just whenever I think of it, I just think of Liam Neeson.
Well,
Sadly
Liam
enough,
Neeson, yeah, that's
he did
that's
an
usually
amazing
kind
job.
of how it goes. Yeah.
Liam Neeson did an amazing job. I'll say
Mhm.
that. So
Yeah. So the next one, Ben Kingsley, plays Itzhak Stern, which it was very hard to find a picture of him. But Itzhak was, which I feel like I spelled his name wrong. I'm so sorry. There's so many typos in this.
it's fine. Don't worry.
He was the vice president of the Jewish Agency of Western Poland. He was the accountant for Oskar Schindler, which is why Schindler um also hired him, was because he knew how to handle like companies and math and all this stuff. A very well educated Jew. He also advised Schindler on how to market his company, especially towards the Nazi members, and how to basically break the rules that they had in place, so that they wouldn't be so that there wouldn't be as strict rules, regulations on who he was allowed to hire. So by kind
Mhm.
of being a very charismatic kind of person and knowing how to go through these loopholes, he was able to get Schindler to bypass a lot of the Nazi laws that would have forbid him to hire Jews, and instead was able to hire a lot more Jews to help kind of like save them from um, the groupings that there was, because Jews were grouped into like non-essential people and essential workers, and it's like anybody who is essential they allowed to kind of keep, anybody who is non-essential were shipped off to the concentration to camps a lot earlier
Mhm.
than other people.
Yeah, there's a very I don't, definitely in this movie you feel as though Stern is basically his like closest friend in through all this,
Mhm.
and he's the business. He literally was the one that ran everything, whereas Oscar or Schindler was just he was the face, and he knew how to be friends with people and everything like that. So it was like that. Those were their two jobs, and that's how this it worked. So,
Yeah.
uh, which obviously we know worked out very nicely because they were able to save so many people. So
Mhm. And so our next one is Ralph. Oh, I don't know how to say his name. Is it Finesse?
Phineas, I don't know.
Phineas?
I don't
I'm
know.
so sorry.
I can't say it.
Um,
He did an amazing job. I'm
very,
sorry you had to
yeah,
play
very
such a
popular
terrible person.
actor. Yeah, he had to play Amon Goth, who is the commander of the Krakow Plazov concentration camp in Poland. He tortured, killed, and maimed a lot of Jews. When he oversaw the camp, he was not a good guy at all.
No.
Like there's a part of the movie where Schindler, I think, tries to talk to him and like have some sort of like a little teeny tiny ounce of like humanity and try and spark it up in him, and it
Mhm.
immediately like goes like haywire. It does not stick. It Yeah, there is no saving him at all. Um but towards this is his like his incarceration picture before he died, but shortly after he was found by the Soviets in a I believe in like an asylum of some sorts, like an insane asylum.
Yeah, it.
Um
Yeah. Fuck it.
yeah.
It says it at the
I,
end of the movie.
yeah, at the end of the movie, it actually goes through a lot of the facts about the characters, and like their real life counterparts and what happened to them after the war. He was found by the Soviets at an insane asylum, and he was actually he was tried by the Supreme National Tribunal and found guilty of war crimes, obviously as she should. And he
Yes.
was executed by hanging outside the Pletsov camp.
I think it says. I think it was a sanatorium, is what it was called.
Yeah, sanatorium. That's what it was.
Sanatorium. So, but yeah, no,
Yeah.
absolutely monster of a human being. He got exactly what he deserved, but probably actually should have gotten more. Um, but he was throughout. I'm sorry that Ralph had to play such a demented person. Um, and that he is what makes this well everything a lot of the stuff makes this movie hard to watch, but he
hmm
especially makes this like extra hard to watch with how cruel and fucked up he was. So but yeah,
Yeah, not an easy movie to watch, but um Ralph did a really good job at showing just
he did.
how little humanity this man had.
Hmm. And he did a good job of showing how also he did a good job of just showing how intimidating these people were, and how
hmm
and like how they got power during this time. So you know.
All right, and then our last actress is Caroline Goodall. She's actually played in quite a bit, I think, recently. If you know who she is, she plays as Emily Schindler, who's not really in the movie too much.
No.
I don't know exactly her history of how much she helped um her husband Oscar with the factories and stuff like that, but she was also given the Righteous Among Nations award from the state of Israel. She I don't know exactly how and like how much she partook, but I know that she did help her husband Oscar when they were starting to actually try and get more Jews into his company and factories and stuff like that.
In
But
in the
she
movie,
died
she's like
pretty
in three
recently
scenes.
too.
Oh,
Yeah,
I think
she's not in too much, but
she's like in three scenes. First scene is when you figure out that it's his wife, or well, you figure out that he was married, and then I think she shows up a little like somewhere in the middle when someone dies, and then she's at the end, and she was like she ran the clinic, the infirmary for the place. So
mhm, yeah. So she not too huge, but I know that she was there to help her husband out when he was starting to save the Jews and stuff.
yeah,
All right. Now
now we
now we
actually
start to get
get in.
into the movie and
Yeah.
stuff, but all right. So again, there aren't really any clips, but I do have stills from the movie. So this is an image from the movie. This is the opening scene, where it shows a Jewish family observing the Shabbat, I believe. I'm really bad at pronouncing stuff, guys. I'm so sorry if I butcher these names. But it is basically the Sabbath day. It is the holy day that they observe, where I believe there is no work. It is more of a religious day than anything. It is one of the only scenes in the movie where they actually show full color before fading to black and white. In interviews and some discussions and stuff as well, as the colors fade to black and white, you see the candles, I believe, blow out, where it kind of symbolizes the smoke from these candles as they're observing a Jewish holiday, then turns into a symbol of the bodies that were being burnt at crematoriums and these like death camps and stuff. That it kind of gives way to um, what was kind of in store for the Jews.
Yeah.
Um, Preceding kind of all this is where you see just a normal family um, sharing in their religious traditions, and then everything that bad happens to them is because of what they believe in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't have really much
Um,
to say. The
no,
intros.
you're good. But
I
the intro is like it's something that sets the tone for the movie, you know. The propaganda that went around in Germany a lot of the times was very derogatory, and obviously very, very untrue, when it came to how they would try and describe Jews. And they would describe them as like violent and greedy people, um, that were supposedly very similar to like vermin. And it was just very derogatory in how they would refer to the Jews, but this is how they like operated and this is how they celebrated their holidays. You know, they weren't bad people. Germany had just made them out scapegoats for
yeah,
like any of the issues and
any
stuff
of
that
them.
they had.
Yeah, they blamed them so that they could have someone to blame. That way they don't get blamed. So yeah.
Yeah.
I mainly what I always remember from the intro is the party. I don't know if you have that next.
Mhm. Mm, I don't think I have the party, but
Okay.
um
Yeah, that I always remember the
yeah.
party being the intro. With it, because we see after this we see Schindler get dressed up and everything, and I already brought this up earlier, but he like has to like dig through a ton of other pins just to get to his like I know he like grabs like it's just like a bunch of crap thrown together. So like
Yeah.
one I think it was just one of the ways to show that he didn't full he was using it as a he was using the Nazi party as a stepping stone, not as like he didn't actually fully believe in them
Yeah,
or
like not
anything
as an
like that.
idealistic kind
No,
of value.
and the party is actually obviously it's a major contrast of what happens and everything like that.
Hmm.
You could see how uh just like during this time the Nazis like were partying and having fun and everything like that as they were doing horrible things, and Schindler took advantage of that. uh and you literally in one night he was able to basically manipulate the officers into becoming his friends and
Yeah.
like getting to know them
It
and
was a
everything like that.
very
So
networking kind of party. That
yeah,
this is where he starts to get his foothold into not only the area, but um, actually establishes him getting like a zone for his factory.
yeah, and it also establishes that Schindler is actually smart because when he gets there he sits down and he notices the reserved table, and
Hmm.
after he does that, that's when he starts making friends with all the other officers. And literally, by the time the two that arrive for that reserved table shows up, he's already made friends with everyone else in the room, which got the guy that was sitting at the reserve table, who I only can assume is a very high member of the like a high ranking officer, right, or something like that. Uh, it got his attention. It
His
was all like,
attention, yeah.
yeah, and it was like, oh, who's that? And then he's all like, the maitre d is all like, oh, it's Oskar Schindler. And so you could see how his plan like got started and everything like that, and like
Hmm.
moved along. So
All right. So the next one is the perceptions of how Jews were seen. There was a lot of propaganda, even in the beginning of the movie, which I couldn't find a picture of or the exact like thing for the scene. Um, and especially from where I was watching, I was watching the movie, I couldn't go back very well. But in the very beginning of the movie, there's actually a scene where I believe there's like a I don't know if it's a TV or it's like a radio station that's in the front of a shop, but it has all this Nazi kind of propaganda that goes on that goes how do you spot a Jew, right? And it goes through all these different things of like this is what a Jew looks like. This is how you spot someone if they're like not wearing their Star of David. Um, if you suspect someone of like being a Jew, like tell your local like SS officer, all this propaganda and stuff to create a distinction between the German people and the Jewish people. And there was a lot of this stuff that would, go on. Um, the biggest thing that the propaganda would go off of is um, the kind of the stereotype that Jewish people tend to have like large and hooked noses, and that's how you can really tell who's Jewish and who's not, as well as like the shape of their head and all this other sort of stuff that does not make like any sort of sense.
no,
Um,
as
the Nazi Party would use to be like, "Hey, this is a person. This is not a person."
yeah, which makes no sense because every
Mm.
person is different and they have different features. So you might be Jewish and not have those features that are being said, uh, and then you could be just someone that isn't Jewish and have those features.
Yeah.
So it's yeah, it's a dumb way to try. Like
Yeah.
it was dumb and of them, but it worked because it was a manipulation tactic. It was a
Yeah.
way like, oh,
Very.
sorry, no, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, yeah, that's very, very much so what you were talking about. And I even put like a poster up. This is like an actual Nazi poster, not one from the movie that I found. That explains like the picture that you see. It shows like a rat's body with the face of an anti-Semitic like caricature of what a Jewish person's like features were like exaggerated and meant to look like, as well as like a text that says like rats destroy them, with, I think, the term as well as like Zyklon B, which was a pesticide that was used to kill rats, but it was also one of the gases that they would use in death camps to gas up the chambers and stuff. And a lot of the Nazi propaganda was very like, these people are different. They are not you. They are not German. And so like any issues that you have, they are the reason why. Um,
Yeah.
and it was very effective towards like people who had an issue but didn't have like somebody to put the blame on them.
Yeah. And the Star of David is a very important thing for the Jewish religion. Um, I don't know the history about it. I just know it is a very important symbol for them.
Mm-hmm.
And the Nazis used this as a way uh, to identify uh, Jewish people. And when
Yeah.
you were identified, you had to wear one and be like, "Hey," to show that you were Jewish. But I believe in the movie, at least I caught it really quick. I don't think if you were in temple, because they do go to a temple early on in the movie, obviously before they are most likely destroyed. I believe they go to a temple, and they didn't have to wear the
Yeah, I
star.
I think in
So
the very beginning of like when all this stuff was going on, they didn't like it wasn't a law to wear it. And
hmm
then as stuff started to get more and more drastic, they did. Like it used to be like an armband that you would put over your clothes, and anybody
yeah,
who was Jewish had to wear it. And then it was something that was sewn onto their clothes where you could no longer remove it.
yeah,
And there was a saying in here where one of the girls says, like, why should we wear this? What happens if I just take it off? Which is a thing that people would do. And like the girl responds with, well, they'll just shoot you. Simple as that. If they find out that you're Jewish and you're not obeying the laws, they'll
you'll
just
get
kill you
shot.
on the spot.
Yeah, and
Something I learned in my history class though was that the this is something that actually happened in history where people chose not to wear it. For women, for Jewish women, it was a little easier to not get caught as for being Jewish. But
mhm,
for men, it was harder because the Jewish, in Judaism, you practice, oh fuck, what was it called? It was just on my name, on the tip of my tongue. Oh, you practice like circumcision.
yeah,
And so what would also happen, which was another way to humiliate the Jewish people, is if an SS officer knew that you were a Jew or had a very strong suspicion that you were a male Jew, they would ask you to pull your pants down in the street in front of everybody. Because if you were circumcised, you were a Jew, but if you were not, then you were a German person. And it
which
was
once
one of
again
those
is
things.
which one again once again is not an identifying thing because it's a procedure that many of people go through. So even if you aren't Jewish, so
Yeah.
like
It was one of those things where it's like it was a way that they used to humiliate people, the Jewish people on like the streets and be like, "Hey, you're Jewish, you're not wearing your star, you're gonna like come with us," and kind of like reprimand
yeah,
um with stuff. But it was a very real thing that if they ever did take off the identifying factor, um, and people found out, they would be severely punished, if not killed on the spot.
yeah. And another tactic they use to dehumanize the Jewish people, you obviously can see in Stern's picture here, which we still do this, but we don't do it for obviously we don't do it for like to identify Jewish people. We use it for prisoners and stuff like that. Um, they just put a number on you, and basically what you'll do, like for that, you'll just be called by your number. You won't be called by your name. You'll be called by your number because it dehumanizes you. You're just a number. You don't have a name. And we still, and at least I believe we still do this in the American uh, uh, jailing system
Prison
and stuff
system.
like that.
I
Yeah,
think
prison
so. I
system. So
don't I don't exactly know. But it's also like
and
another way to separate you from being a person.
yeah,
Right? If like you have a name, it adds to your personality. I get to know you a little more. Whatever I just put you on, put a number on you. You're no longer a person. You were just a number in a list, and that's about
yes,
it.
and so it makes it easier for them to just they want to kill you, they'll just kill you and not feel bad about it.
Yeah.
Um, which is definitely sad. So yeah. Ooh. All right.
Next one that I have, lists is a huge theme as well that goes on throughout Schindler's List. It's in the name.
Yes.
It's in the name. So the two pictures I have, the bottom one is from the actual movie. The top one is the actual list that Schindler wrote up. It is only a fraction of it, but is an actual picture of there that goes like their name, their birth date, and then where they were from. Um, and this is like the list of the people, a part of the people that he was able to save from the concentration camp there. But usually lists in the sense of World War II, especially when it referred to Jews, was a very negative tone. It is how they
Mhm.
categorized you, and especially here you see it in the scenes here. They when separating people, they would see if you were an essential worker or if you weren't. They would ask you, they would come up, they would ask you for your name, I think your date of birth, where you were from, and then what your profession was, what your line of work was, whether you were like somebody who could possibly make, munitions. If you were like a metal worker, okay, that means that you could make like guns or you could make ammunition to a certain degree.
Mhm.
There's a scene in here where somebody says, "Oh, I'm a history professor." Anybody with um anybody with degrees in like education, or who were teachers, no matter if they could do like metalworking or like not, they were automatically sent to camps, because they were viewed as a threat that anybody who was educated knew how to stand up against them or were possible people who could incite like a rebellion. And even like German people or like people from other countries, if they were educated and they were not with the Nazi party, were also sent to concentration camps. Like it wasn't exclusively Jewish people, the majority were, but anybody who was viewed as an enemy of the Nazi party got sent to these concentration camps as well.
Yeah, and that has been uh, education has been like viewed as a threat throughout history multiple times because especially if you're trying to suppress a different population or anything like
Hmm.
that. Uh, I'm sorry that we're going more into American history, but I'm American, and that's what I know. I know during the time of slavery and everything like that, they did their best to make sure that the African American people were uneducated, didn't have an education, couldn't read or anything like that, because they knew if they if African Americans could, then they would start to question things and rise up more and more.
Yeah.
And it's been a tactic throughout history for the longest time. So
Yeah. And like during that scene that we were talking about, they basically said, like when he said he was like a history teacher, they said, "Oh, it's not a useful profession anymore." And he
mhm.
goes, "What do you mean it's not a useful profession? When does like teaching when is teaching not useful?" And it's kind of
Yeah,
like that thing of like anybody who was seen as a threat was immediately like taken care of. They were either sent to a death camp, presumably, or they would probably were taken somewhere else to get shot.
yeah.
But the
It all.
movie makes Oh, sorry, go ahead. I'm
I
so
was just
sorry.
gonna say it also shows um what some of the Jewish people uh viewed as important and stuff, or viewed as um had their
Like
views
valuable.
on it, yeah, valuable or something like that, because the dude's all like non-essential, but I teach history and English. Uh,
Mm. Same thing
um,
with like musicians too. It's
yeah,
like
yeah,
they weren't seen as useful.
no, and so and it kind of gives a little like I believe when you see him, he's like when he's in line, he's a little bit smiling and stuff if I remember correctly, because he believes he is an essential worker. He'll just
Mm-hmm.
play like, oh, I teach history and English, of course I'll be an essential worker. um and come to realize obviously he's not. And then obviously in this big scene that we've been talking about, this is where Stern, like, because like, is it like you see how amazing Stern is and stuff like that, where he's forging documents very easily because he works in a factory that has like has printing presses and stuff like that. So he's able to make forged documents saying, "Oh no, they're a worker. Don't worry about it. They're very good metal
Yeah,
worker."
they're very good metal worker. They're essential.
Mhm. and,
Um,
and even when and it goes to show how smart Stern is in that he, even though he makes this forged document, he doesn't just give it to them and say, "Hey, lie and say this," because some people just aren't good at lying. So for some of them, he actually shows up like really next to them and is all, because
he
there's
like
the
shows up and helps them out. Yeah.
yeah, because there's the guy with that was a musician. He's all like, "Oh, I'm a musician," and he's all like, "He's a musician," and then Stern's all like, "Oh, yeah, yeah, he plays a little bit of music, but he's a very skilled metal worker. He's worked for like 10 years or 20 years as a metal worker."
Mhm.
So like he had
Yeah.
to come in and say that because some of them, like you said earlier, not everybody knew the severity of what was going on. So they
Yeah.
literally
And
he had to
one
say.
of
No, go ahead. Sorry.
yeah. I was gonna say one of the things this movie does well is even with this list, even with them like following all the laws and stuff and all the rules that Nazi Germany was putting out to kind of separate them and keep them like disqualified from stuff. There are scenes in here where it shows just how fickle um the I don't know if this is the right way to say it. It's just like shows how little the Jewish lives mattered to Germany. To where
Yeah.
even there's a scene in here where there's a one-armed um
Man.
Jewish worker who works for Schindler, and he comes in and he thanks Schindler for allowing him to come work at his factory, lists him as essential. He is alive because Schindler said that he was essential.
And
And Schindler like gets upset. He's like, "Didn't you see like he has one arm? How is he essential?" Blah blah blah. It goes through this whole entire thing. Um and it transitions to another scene where it's in the wintertime. All the Jews that are like going to go work at Schindler's factory, they all get stopped and they are all told to shovel snow because that is what they have to do now. And even with the correct papers and even with the fact that they are essential, since this guy only has one arm, the SS takes him down the street and basically shoots him. And it's like as he's trying to explain like all this other sort of stuff, they say, "Oh, a Jew with one arm, he's now like twice as useless."
yeah, which obviously is
And
fucked
it's
up.
like, yeah, it is extremely fucked up. And the fact that it just shows if a German officer wanted to kill you, it is very easy. They just take you down the street and that's it.
Yeah.
Like the
And
lives of these people meant nothing to them.
it's good that you bring up him thanking Schindler and stuff like that. Because up to that point in the movie, Schindler's only in it for the profit. He doesn't realize that he's actually saved all these people, or he at least refuses to see it. He up to that point he didn't have any connection to any of the Jewish people, like workers that he had, and then obviously Stern like insists that this man really has come every day. Just say thank you so he doesn't have to come. That way he doesn't show up here every time bothering us, and you can get on. And then obviously the 100 man comes in, says thank you, and all this at that point, uh, Schindler now has a connection to these Jewish workers. Even if it's just one worker, he now has a connection to these workers. And as you said, Schindler is all like, how, as soon as one-armed man leaves, he's all like, how is he valuable? And all Stern says is, he's very valuable, a very good worker, very, very valuable. And
very skilled, yeah.
And once again, it shows like how much Schindler doesn't care about like the Nazi Party or whatever. If he truly was like devoted to the Nazi Party, he would have just killed the one-armed man and just or called the SS or something like that. But he keeps him there, and I think it has to be like a month or two later, because there's no snow on the ground when he says thank you. And then I believe as soon like there's a big change. As soon as the one-armed man gets killed, that's where you see he still goes on the allocation that he is doing it for the profit, he's doing it for the money, but you can tell that he starts doing like more and more for the Jewish people during at that time. So he just hides behind the fact, oh no, I'm just doing it for the profit. So
yeah.
Okay.
This movie is also like a 3-hour and 15-minute movie. It is such a long movie to go through, that it's like there's so much stuff that we're kind of glazing over and missing. This is just kind of like the themes of everything that is going on. Where if you want to see more and actually see kind of what we're talking about, go watch the movie. It is such a good movie to watch.
Which you can watch on our non-sponsor Paramount Plus. They're not a sponsor.
Right. Something else that is seen throughout the entire movie is the piles of Jewish items. Even throughout like Holocaust museums and just like movies like this that showcase the treatment of the Jewish population, you will see piles and piles of stuff. The top picture here is a pile of shoes from Auschwitz that were saved from the people that went to the camp. And it is like, this pile is huge. I've actually been to the concentration camp there in Poland, and it is like, I want to say they keep it in a glass room, but it is like 15 feet high. This thing is absolutely huge, and it is just a huge pile of the shoes that they were actually able to get that weren't burned. Because obviously over the course of like the many years that this goes on, everything that if the Nazis can't use it, it gets burned and gets destroyed or gets transformed into something else. So this is the pile that they were actually able to save and find, and is in like its original condition. But the one thing that the Nazis believed is that they believed that the Jewish people were rich, and by raiding their homes and confiscating their goods, they would find a lot of money, which to a certain degree was kind of true. You see in the movie that there are jewelers who are basically taking diamonds and gems and stuff off of rings and looking at them, and then they put them in a pile. The bottom picture is a scene from the actual movie where this man, and all these people who are sorting through these items, by the way, are Jews.
Jewish,
like,
yeah.
it is Jewish people who are going through the items of their families and friends and like neighbors, and they are now having to sort through their belongings and pull out stuff that is valuable and not valuable and give it to their captors and enslavers, basically. And one of the most horrific scenes that you see, which you actually see the guy stop and sit there and is taken aback, is this guy dumps a pile of teeth onto his desk to sort through, because the teeth are gold plated. And I think at this point in time, they don't have, like, as far as dentistry stuff goes, it is actual gold that they are using.
Yeah, I believe it is.
And so now this guy's job is to sort through gold-capped teeth of possibly his friends, neighbors, and family that have been forcefully removed from like their mouths. And
It,
it
it
is
is.
it is just
It's more.
heart-wrenching.
It's more insinuated that it was the Nazis that pulled them out, and that's probably true. So, but we do not
Yeah.
see that.
We
I'm
don't
sure
yeah,
a
you
few.
don't see it in the movie, but it is assumed that like anything valuable on these people, including their teeth, was removed.
Yeah, and
Even throughout the other scenes, you see the belongings of the Jewish people as they're getting moved from like one place to another. It just is piled onto the streets. It's tossed. It's like um they say like to like, oh, bring like a bag with you or something like this of only your most like valuable stuff, whatever you find like essential. But in the end, none of it was kept. They did not take any of their stuff to the concentration camps. All of it was confiscated, and a majority of it was left in piles in the streets.
which goes to show again how the Nazis uh, basically put on this big lie of, oh, we're just moving you places. We're just moving you. We're not doing anything bad. We're just moving you to a place to keep an eye on you or something like that. They try to go with that lie. And sadly, a lot of the Jewish population believed that lie, as they're like literally before they get on these trains, they're all writing down their names and like addresses and stuff on their luggage, and it doesn't even get put on the train. So
Yeah.
they like still have this like glimmering hope that, oh, that they'll just take the luggage with us. So
A
yeah,
lot of this is just all of their entire lives were uprooted on a whim. And it was not just a quick thing of like, oh, hey, in a week, we're going to move you. It
yeah,
is abrupt to where you see the scenes of officers coming into the building that they're living, telling everybody to get out
yeah,
and everybody to line up and basically sign up saying you're here. And I think in the next one, okay, it's not the next, well, a part of it is the next one. You see that as these
yes,
people are um leaving the town, that everybody's kind of like rushed and panicked. uh Orders are being shouted at them to get from one place to another. um that you see just how much of a panic and kind of fear is going on throughout them. It is not full blown like anarchy, but it is like, that the Germans are in control and there is nothing that you can say or do that is going to like save you in any manner. Um and with this, one of the most iconic scenes from the movie, which is actually an alternative cover for the movie, is this
oh, yeah,
picture of this little girl in the red coat.
yeah. That's the poster that I
Which,
had for watching the movie on.
yeah, it is a really iconic scene. It brings a lot of symbolism into the movie that she is supposed to symbolize like the like innocence. She is like a young little girl in a red coat that is, standing out amongst the crowd. She is walking amongst like the a corrupt and unforgiving world. She has no clue kind of what's going on, but she's just kind of there. A lot of other people also associate the fact that she is red, being a symbolism of all the blood that was shed, from the Jewish people being like sacrificed and murdered for this unjust like reason that was going on. Um, Something else that I found out while digging a little deeper, um, this actually happened.
Mm,
One of the survivors from the Holocaust that was interviewed for this movie has a recollection that he saw a young girl, maybe about like 4, in a bright pink coat that was shot by a Nazi officers right before his eyes. And he said that is something that you will never forget.
no,
And like anytime he closes his eye, it's like the one thing that he like remembers well after this is that some little girl from some family in this, bright pink coat just dies before his eyes for like no reason.
yeah, and obviously, uh, the other part of the red coat is that yes, we see the red coat and everything like that, but um Schindler shows up on the day that the ghetto is being cleared out and they're being to the camps, and he notices the girl. He notices the girl in the red coat, and he fixates on her. He like watches her as she's walking around this place, and then obviously few years passed, and then they're cleaning out this basically a mass grave that they had, um, and Schindler sees the girl in the red coat. He literally remembers the girl in the red coat, even though it's probably been years since, and stuff like that. So
This is, I think, in the beginning of us talking about all this. This is the one scene where we're basically talking how the turning point of kind of Schindler's humanity is that
yes.
him and his wife are riding horses and they stumble across the liquidation of the Jewish ghetto. And he just watches how all these people are pushed out. People are being shot in the streets. If somebody is disabled or dying, they are killed. If somebody is running away from the Jewish people, they're killed. Anybody who talks back, immediately shot. This is the probably the bloodiest scene in the entire movie as stuff goes on. Um, there's also a scene where uh the SS are coming into a hospital, and the nurses and the staff are giving any Jewish patient, I don't exactly know what it is, but it was some type of poison to kill them, so that they would not have to sit there and bleed out and be shot. It was a more humane way to kind of end their life. Is the staff knew that the Germans were going to come in, kill the people anyway, and instead of having them
Be
be
shot. They.
be shot with the possibility of them not actually dying in the first bullet,
Mm-hmm.
they decide to take it upon it, which I think is actually something that did happen within history. Is when this stuff started going on, it was a easier way to go and a more humane thing that nurses and doctors would do. If they knew that these patients were going to be shot by the officers that were coming to raid the area, they took it upon themselves to be more humane.
Yeah, and yeah, going back to Schindler's shift. This is where he kind of drops the facade that he's doing this for money. This is where he kind of still has that like, oh, he still insinuates, oh no, I'm just in it for the money, but you can tell that now he's just doing it to protect these people. He's not doing this for the profit. So
Yeah.
yeah.
All right. Well, yeah. So next one again, going back into the theme of constant fear.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the bottom one is also something that happened during the liquidation of the ghetto. People tried to escape and hide. There are several scenes in this movie that show that. This one is one of the characters who him and some people, they get into the sewers of the city and they start running in the sewers, and they're like, okay, if we just make it to the end, we'll be okay, they're not going to find us here.
Yeah.
But at the end of the sewers, the Germans are waiting for them, and that was one of the big things. Is the Germans knew that they were going to run and hide. And so they actually planned to sit at the entrances and exits of like sewer systems, or to wait until like nighttime when everybody else had left, make sure everything was quiet before they would actually go in and raid anybody else that was hiding or like sitting there. There are several scenes where it's like people are hiding in false walls, false floors underneath, like they strap themselves
Yeah.
to the underneath of beds instead of hiding under the bed to where you could be seen hiding basically like in the mattress up in attics, and stuff like that. And it's like if as soon as they were found, they were just gunned down.
Yeah. Because instead, like, goes to that thing of control again. Of if they already are trying to escape, then no, we're not gonna. They could easily just drag them to the camps, but they're all like, no, we're not gonna go with the headache. it, or like the thought that you might try this again, or like make an uprising in camp. So
Yeah.
they just killed them. So
Another thing too with this is while uh they were shot down super easily um inside the ghetto that was made for them, same thing inside the concentration camps. Something happened that they didn't like, it was a lot easier to shoot them. It also instilled a lot of fear, that at any point in time, if you do something wrong that upsets one of the officers, that's it.
and
Um, I was gonna say, I
and
think. Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, and with that scene of people hiding and stuff, uh basically the Nazis knew that people were going to hide, and obviously, yeah, you see like they stayed at the sewers and stuff like that. But like the people actually that just made false walls and everything like that in houses, they raided once, the initial raid, gathering everybody that was going to come, and then they raided again later that night when they thought that the Jewish people would think, oh, we're safe now, we can escape, and then they
Hmm.
came back. So they came back a second time, knowing
Yeah.
that this was probably going to happen.
Um, Something as well is that for those who were actually able to hide and successfully do it, it is not an easy thing.
No.
If anybody has ever read or looked into the life of Anne Frank and like her diary, um, she talks about how while she's in the attic of like I think one of her neighbors or something like that, they have to be extremely quiet. They cannot move, they cannot creak any wood. They cannot move like any of the um like curtains and stuff like that. They can't even use the bathroom because if they use the bathroom and it's like they flush and they make any sort of noise and say for example somebody knows that the owner of that house is not there, they've just been found out. And so
Yeah.
it is one of those things to where it is like in order to not be found, it is a very 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 difficult manner to accomplish and to
Yeah.
actually do in a way that is successful when people are looking out for people who are hiding.
We should probably go over the scene that's at the top here, because this
Yeah.
top part is very, very important. So, if
Yeah.
do you want to do that one?
You can go ahead. I've
Okay.
talked a lot. I think my voice needs a little bit of a break.
Okay. All right. So this top scene, like this top picture that we have here, this is the commandant who, um, at this point in the movie, Schindler, like at one point, his factory got shut down. When they immediately got sent to the camps, that his factory was shut down because all he had was Jewish workers. And so at this point in the movie, he's still trying to uh reopen his uh factory. So he's like trying to become friends with the commandant. And in this particular scene, oh wait, no, sorry, I'm remembering the movie now. Okay, so at this point, he has become friends with the commandant, and he's reopened his factory. And so he has a set amount of Jewish workers at his factory. They uh and they've already had incidents where some of his workers die, and so literally, um, Schindler has to go to the commandant and be all like, "Stop killing my worker! Or like, stop! If they are my workers, you can't kill them, because then I have to rehire and retrain." Under the guise of, "Oh, it costs me money every time if you kill one of my Jewish workers," but for obviously there's a underlying subtext there. Um, but basically, at this point in the movie, the commandant goes to this like metal workers. They're making hinges. They're making vital things for the war. They're making hinges, stuff like that. Stuff they can either sell or is vital to the war. This man here is a hinge maker, and he's able to make them pretty fast. He can make them under a minute. He can make a hinge under a minute. So the commandant is like doing an inspection of the areas, and he's kind of being friendly, or friendly in quotations, big quotations. He's all like, "Oh, hey, what do you make here?" And he's all like, "Oh, I make hinges." He's all like, "Oh, can you show me?" And then he starts a timer. And the hinge maker starts making it, and he makes it under a minute. And so the commandant's all like, "Wow, that's really impressive. These are really good hinges." And then he walks over to a box that's right next to him and says, "So if you can make hinges under a minute, why do you have such a small box?" And at this point, obviously, you're scared for this man, and he drags him outside, um, puts him on his knees, and they're all like, "We're going to kill." He knows he's gonna die, and he's crying, and he's begging for his life. And the commandant's literally just trying to shoot him. He keeps on trying to, but his gun keeps jamming for whatever reason. Like, he can't get a shot off. And so, he's pleading for his life, and he's literally saying, "The reason why I don't have as many hinges is because the machines were being calibrated this morning. I only, like an hour ago, I started working because the machines were getting," he's like crying and telling him this. And so Commandant tries to shoot with his first gun, nothing happens. So he gives it to his officers, like something, and they're all like, "Oh, something's wrong." They're having a casual conversation. They're like, "Oh, something, it might be the firing pin, might be jammed, yada yada." So he takes out a second gun, tries to shoot him. Nothing happens again. It's jammed again. And then he gets a third gun from one of his other officers, and it just doesn't work. So he literally, the commandant being so frustrated, literally just like hits him on the back of the head and walks off with his other officers. And all the officers, like the two others, are just like having a normal conversation. They're treating this as like, "Oh yeah, they treat this conversation like they're just at the water cooler saying what happened on the game last night." Whereas obviously it's a man literally about to be executed, and by some divine intervention, it doesn't happen because all the guns for some reason keep on jamming, and so he gets just knocked on the head. And then the next day, Stern convinces, or yeah, so on the next day, Stern insinuates that, or tells him about this man, I believe. And Schindler's all like, why do I care? He's a worker, yada yada yada. And then at the very end, he gives him his lighter, and then Stern gives the lighter to one of the Jewish officers that's working with the Nazis, and they send him to Schindler's factory, and so he is saved from being killed again. So it becomes this, it just this is where you see Schindler's ideology has shifted, and that he is doing everything in his power to help these people. And but yeah. Sorry, that was a long explanation. But.
Yeah, no, but I mean, it's a good explanation of this, that it's like throughout the entire movie where tons and tons of people are being killed, this one man, out of like sheer luck, has been able to make it, and like it goes through this whole entire thing of like Schindler now like saves him with everything.
Yeah, and then we get after this, we get one more scene with the little boy. He probably killed a chicken, or somebody did. Somebody killed a chicken at the camp, and Commandant's angry, and he's holding everybody in line, and is all like, "Okay, who killed the chicken?" And no one speaks, so he kills a man,
Like a random
guy, just someone in line. And so the kid, crying, steps forward, and he's all like, "Are you the one that killed my chicken?" And he's all like, "No, he did," and points to the guy he just shot. First of all, that kid is very smart. I don't know, you don't know who did it. It never tells you who did it. You can only assume it could have been the kid, it could have been somebody else. It literally could have been anyone, and that's the point. And the
Mm,
kid just is all like, the man you just shot is the one that did it.
yeah.
Like, basically trying to make it that nobody else gets killed. And then the next day, the kid ends up working at Schindler's factory, so he gets saved as well. And like,
Yeah.
yeah, starts this chain reaction of stuff happening.
Yeah. Um, so for our next one as well, I didn't realize this until I actually started doing research on the movie.
Mm-hmm.
The road of the concentration camp that all these people are at
Mm-hmm.
um, is made using the headstones of Jews. They are Jewish headstones that the Germans have broken off from cemeteries. And have used to build and pave these roads. They still exist, I think, today. I don't know if they're protected. I assume they are. I
Probably.
know that there was an article of like somebody was like a couple people got arrested for vandalizing this in like current times.
Yeah,
But
which is
as you
messed
can
up.
see,
Don't do that.
like yeah, um, you can see like in the movie and stuff like that, the roads that these people have to go and walk through and walk to, the Jewish people are stepping on their own like headstones of the people who follow their religion. And as we know, it's like people like there's a saying where it is like what is it? It's like you don't step on like a grave or something like that. I totally forget what it
Yeah,
is.
it is
But
supposed to be.
there's a saying that goes on with it, like don't be disrespectful by stepping on someone's grave. You know, let the dead rest and whatnot. And this is just furthering that saying, like these people who respect their religion and respect the ancestors that have died, they now are like forced um, to walk on it,
Yeah,
and it's like a way to humiliate them even more. Um, that it's like, hey, not only have we disrespected you as a people, but we are now like forcing you to, in a sense, disrespect your own like religion and your own people by stepping on the headstones. Um, Something else that I found that was very interesting is not only is it like a symbolic thing meant to like deteriorate and like wear down the mental capacity of people, but it was also a way that the Nazis used to get rid of their history, right? If you take out the cemeteries, you take out the synagogues, you take out all this stuff, there is nothing left for people to like remember.
I didn't know that either. So
Yeah, I
this is
didn't know
actually
that
interesting.
until I started looking at it and I was like, "Oh crap." Like you start looking at all these details and stuff and realizing that there's a lot of extra stuff that especially that like goes into this movie um that you wouldn't have really even known or thought about.
Yeah.
But- right. So even going through this we've skipped a lot, and I know that we've talked about this for quite a while. Now we're getting to the end of Schindler's List.
Yeah.
Um oh, did you want to say something?
No, no, no. I was just saying, yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So yeah, getting to this, as the war comes to close, Germany has begun to lose the war. The Soviet Union, like I had said, kind of in the brief history stuff, the Soviet Union is pushing their way to Berlin from the east. And so now they're starting to close in on the concentration camp, working their way through Poland to get to Germany. And through this, the Germans know that the Russians are coming. So a lot of them leave. There's a lot of stuff too where they are given orders to completely eradicate concentration camps. It's not even just an eradication of like kill all the Jews. It is a destroy any evidence of what was going on here.
Yeah.
Um, and it was on both sides. It was like the Americans actually came across a lot of the Nazi people about to exterminate concentration camps, if not already in the process, especially like destroying evidence. And so it was a big thing to try and deconstruct as much as possible so that um, when they do lose and they, you know, the allies do come in,
Hmm.
they don't know what happened.
Yeah.
Um And so Schindler and his wife are forced to flee. Schindler at the end of the movie is actually able to convince the SS officers who's about to kill all of the Jews in the concentration camp. He's able to convince him to leave, not follow through with his orders. And at the very end of the movie, you see all the Jews kind of come out and they thank Schindler for what he has done. Um, Through this, Schindler kind of begins to realize even more so the impact of what he's done. He's given a ring that says whoever saves one life saves the entire world. And Schindler then begins to think about his past, is that even though he was able to save almost 1,200 Jews, if he sold his car, he could have saved like an extra 100 people. If he made more money, he could have saved an extra like 1,000 people. And it's kind of like in his eyes, after all of this stuff has gone through, after the fact that he was able to save so many Jews in the first place when a lot of people did not have the capacity to even like save or help one, he feels like he hasn't done enough. And it's one of those things that weighs heavily on his mind after um after all the Germans kind of leave and try to escape the Allied forces that are now closing in.
Yeah. And that is actually, obviously there's a lot of heartbreaking moments in this movie, but this one's also a very heartbreaking, like hard to watch scene, and not that anything graphic or anything happens. It's just you once again showing how good Liam Neeson is as an actor. Literally him going from I'm happy to say, like, glad that I saved all of you, to the realization of what, like, if he had just a little bit more money, if he had, like, him wanting to save more people, even though he's already done so much, is just, it's sad seeing that, uh, and yeah, no, and at, with the, basically the officers basically in the movie, Schindler bought all, over, it was like at the end it says it was 1,400, I think, about,
It was
of
something
Jewish
along
people.
those lines. It was like either it was 1,100 to 1,200. I don't know the exact
Yeah,
number, but it was a lot of people.
it was, and he bought all of their lives basically from all the profits that he made. He used every bit that he could to pay for them, and you see Schindler and Stern making this list, and I'm not 100%. Do they lie about some of them? Like, they make fake names for some of them. Like, I think Stern gets a fake name, right? Like,
Don't know.
I'm trying,
It's
like,
possible.
they might have been. I'm not 100% sure. I'd have to rewatch that scene. But basically, they and not only that, they have to do it from memory. They're not allowed to, like, use the records, I guess, to, um get, like, write down the names. They have to, like, use, like, they have to just remember about 1,200 people, and, like, type it up and everything. Leaving the last name to be Helen, who's the maid, who's gone through a whole other thing that's been going on, and but yeah, like, and then it just all culminates into this, and he gets to bring them back to his hometown, and basically they're protected by a few, not they are protected by a few Nazi soldiers, but they're not allowed to be in the factory at all. And that and Schindler says, if you kill any of them, you will go to jail, and I will I'll be suing you, essentially.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah.
And then this is kind of the last scene of the movie. After it goes through the liberation of the concentration camp, the liberation of the Jews, um, it starts to list off a couple like historical things that happen after. It's where we learn Amon was found at a sanatorium, was sentenced to death by hanging. which it does show that in the movies.
Yeah.
It goes through kind of the life of Schindler, that him and his wife, um, there was like some turmoil in their marriage. From what I read, it was kind of like after the war, they just split and they never saw each other again.
He
But they
was a
never really got
womanizer and
divorced.
stuff like that. I know
Yeah.
that.
He
So.
never he never they never got divorced, but it was kind of like they never really saw each other again. So obviously after everything that goes on, it's definitely like a strain with everything that people have been through. But going through, it shows the scene where all the cast and all like it shows a scene of all the survivors like walking over the hill in the movie in the black and white, all the actors and stuff walking over, and then it switches to a present day scene of all the survivors that all the actors played walking um to his grave in Israel. And each actor and their counterpart who they played come through and they lay these rocks on his grave. I believe it's a sign of like respect and memory. I don't exactly know for certain what it means, but I know that it is a Jewish tradition that you lay rocks on top of the grave. Um, but in 1958, he was declared a righteous person by the Council of Yad Vashem in Jerusalem. He was also invited to plant a tree in the Avenue of the Righteous, which was created after World War II, to honor the people who who were brave enough to help Jews. He died in 1974 due to liver failure, but he was given the gift of being buried in Jerusalem on Mount Zion. And he is the only, as far as we know, he's the only Nazi Party member to have been honored in this manner. And it is a very, very high honor um, that most people will like never have, that aren't part of the Jewish like religion, as far as I'm aware.
Yeah.
Um, but in this scene, he is all the actors come through and they like lay rocks on them, and you get to see who they played as well as like their counterpart that's alive. You also get to see um Emily, which is his wife, come back to his grave as well and stuff. And
Yeah.
it's a very heartwarming and like touching kind of moment that goes through to see this. That kind of, as much as the movie is like a set and stuff, it's like this definitely makes it more real, by being able to see like who they all are now in present day, and the fact that Oskar Schindler not only saved a whole bunch of Jews, but he saved generations. Is that there are thousands of people that are alive today because of his actions. And there's one statistic at the very end of the movie um, that says is that the movie was made in honor of the 6 million Jews who died during World War II, which
Yeah.
is an insane amount of people to even think about. That it is basically probably 1 to 2 countries' populations worth of people that died within a like 6 to 7 year span. But yeah, so really good movie. That's kind of the end of it. I know that it's a very gut wrenching film. It's a very serious film and it's a very dark film. But it is, I feel like, really important that you know we go over it, as well as if you are interested, you watch it. It feels more like a documentary than it does like a piece of entertainment, or
Yeah.
like any other movie or anything like that. It is crafted so well that it imbues so much of the past into a form that you can watch and you can feel and you can sympathize and empathize with. Um, Spielberg did a wonderful job creating a powerful message on how much compassion means with this movie, and it is always important to remember what goes on in history, so that we don't make those same mistakes to repeat it. So
Yeah, obviously, and hell, what we spent 2 hours talking about this movie, like
two
over
and a half
two
hours,
hours.
almost as much time as the
Nausicaa
movie
is not going to
is.
be that as long as
No.
this, not even close. We might even we'll probably breeze through Nausicaa pretty quickly.
Mm-hmm.
But and we literally barely scratched the surface. Like there's so much more that we didn't talk about, and literally we could probably spend another 2 hours talking about this movie because of all the important stuff that's in it. Because we didn't talk about Helen and her being the maid to the commandant. Didn't
Oh
talk
yeah,
about
there's.
we didn't talk about the little boy that like takes care of the horse, like saddles, and does chores around the house. We didn't talk about. We talked a little bit about the gas chamber scene, but
Mm,
didn't go fully in depth with it. We didn't even talk about like the little girl, little Jewish girl, and her mom. There's literally so much we did not talk about. So if you have not seen it, please go and watch it because it's an important thing. I think it's very important to watch this movie. So, yeah.
yeah, no, that's if you watch this as well, and you feel like you enjoy it, like enjoy the message and stuff that comes from this. Um, I don't actually know if it's similar in a sense that it is like a historical drama. I don't know if it's actually based on somebody's experience, but there is a movie um that's very similar to Schindler's List that's called The Pianist. Again, it's another dark movie. It takes place over the course of a Jewish musician's course through the Holocaust and his kind of survival and stuff. And it's another dark film, but it is very similar to this in the sense of like how well it is put together and the message that comes across through it.
Any final thoughts for this?
For this, no.
Okay.
No, I think we said as much as we could.
We definitely.
Our biggest recommendation is just to watch the movie and then
Definitely.
form your own opinions, form your own review because it's good.
Yes. Which means we're now switching over. We're going. It's
A
not
little more light-hearted topic
very
here.
more lighthearted. Nausicaa, the Valley of the Wind. Which means I'm turning back on freaking sound alerts and everything. Had those
Oh,
off because
yeah,
I
no. One thing I will say about Schindler's List, the
I
music
taco.
that is for that movie is amazing. It is
Oh
beautiful. It is great. I love
yes,
the music for that. It's
the
like
score is
everybody who
great.
worked on that movie as well was so worried about them not being good enough to be the host of the story or to create an element for that movie. But like all the writers, the musicians, the directors, screenplay, all that stuff, all of it was it was so good.
Yeah, no, the score is great. Uh, the acting, everything in that movie is really great. Go watch it, please. I also didn't realize this. I know this was an hour ago, and I know you're probably not here, but thank you, Mini Kitsune, for the follow. Sorry, I didn't say it. I turned off sound alerts and everything, so I'm not allow. I was not gonna allow sound alerts while we discussed Schindler's List, but now you can redeem channel points. You can do whatever you want because we're in a
Yeah,
fictional world
see,
now.
I wasn't smart and I didn't do that, but luckily enough, I didn't have anybody come in. I just had like Taco come in at the end of that. So yeah. But do you mind if we take a little potty break?
Yeah,
Because
yeah, that's
after
fine.
2.5 hours, I gotta go fill up on water. My mouth is like so dry.
I need to grab water too.
I
So
nerded out way too much.
I need to grab water too. Also, Hi, Mini Kitsune. You'll bully me tomorrow? Bring it on.
Alright, I'll be right back.
Alright, see you in a second. Thank you for the anime moan, Taco King, and thank you for the God zombie scream. Sadly, it did the thing where I had to like click off and click on again, so I didn't hear them. But you know what? You probably did. I'll listen to the. I'll redeem it myself. So there we go. See, I might as well hear your redeems for fun. There you go. Whew. That was a heavy one. That was a really heavy one. I'm glad we did it though, because it's very important and needs to be. I think it needed to be told. So, by now we're on Nausicaa, the Valley of the Wind. Are you guys ready? This one is not gonna take 2 hours to talk about. We'll probably breeze through this one and maybe play a game or something afterwards. But yeah, no. How you guys doing, Taco and Mini? How you guys doing? We'll be eating and chilling. Hey, that's fine. I'm all good with that. Lurk as much as you want. Alive. Understandable. Well, at least we get to play Project Zomboid tomorrow. That'll be fun. Grinding and planning? Do you mean grinding? Or I do. Yes, re. Hey, we get to all have fun with zombies tomorrow. That'll be a great time. I'm severely bad at the game, so you know that'll be a experience for sure. Ooh. But we get to, and Alagaer's gonna probably be there too. We got everybody. We got the whole gang. It'll be so much fun. I'm excited. Also, Taco, we gotta make another Monster Prom day in a week or two. So, question is undead going to kill or not kill? Okay, look. Questions or undead said no. He's undead is not gonna kill. But do we trust undead is the bigger question. X-Missileites were a pain. I mean, but at least they're probably pretty, Taco, so there's a reward for it. Answer, maybe. Yeah, I don't know what undead's gonna do. Undead will do undead things. They might kill us, they might not. The only thing undead has to worry about is that there's about 7 of us against his 1, so I'm pretty sure we could probably murder him.
Okay.
Welcome back.
Hello?
Hello.
Hello. Hopefully I didn't leave you here too long.
Nah, it's fine. I was
Okay.
talking with
Got some
Taco and
water.
me, so
Nice.
they're excited for Project Zomboid tomorrow.
Oh, I know. I'm so excited for it tomorrow too.
It will be fun. I did so bad at Project Zomboid yesterday. I freaking
I saw.
died so much.
Hi
Well,
Taco, it's nice to see you.
well, and on Sunday, I think I've convinced Zara to do Cuphead with me, but it's gonna be Cuphead crowd control. So, and I
Wait, to
believe
do what?
to do Cuphead crowd control. So
Oh.
the audience gets to like redeem coins and they can fuck with the game. There's one redeem that's like I believe that's send it back to the tutorial. So like if you could be in the middle of a boss fight and now you gotta go do the tutorial again. So All
Oh
right,
my god.
we ready for
I am.
Nausicaa? All right. This is not gonna take 2 hours. I'll tell you guys that now.
No, no, no,
So,
no.
the other one, very important. That's why it took 2 hours. But we got Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind. This is my first time watching it. Was this the first time you watched it?
Mm. I'm sorry, you caught me in the middle of like munching on chips. Yeah, so I had seen I think the very beginning of this movie was like a video on TikTok, where it's got like Subway Surfer on one half, it's got like something showing on the
Yeah.
top. And so I was watching this, I was like, "Oh wow, this looks like a really cool movie." And I've never watched it. I think even like recently within like the past 6 months, it was like the first time I watched My Neighbor Totoro.
I do like my neighbor Totoro. That's a good one.
Yeah, and so it's like the first time I saw that, and so it's the first time that I've seen this, and yeah, I was really entertained by this movie.
Yeah, this was good. I hey, I can plug this. I watched it for Bring Your Own Subscription. The movie watching show that I have. So it was very jarring going from Schindler's List to this, and not only that, I had to abruptly end stream because I had a freaking appointment. So
Oh,
I had to get out. I couldn't finish the last 10 minutes of the movie.
oh no.
I felt bad, but I'm all like, I was really hoping because I went to like the bathroom at one point while the movie was playing. I
Mhm.
was hoping when I came back, I was like, oh, maybe they have like a 2 times speed. That way I can finish it up. They did not have that on Max,
Rip,
so.
rip.
But I finished it when I came back. We didn't miss
Where did
much.
I
There
watch
really
that?
isn't much. So
Oh, there's a I definitely don't do this. I definitely don't go online and
no,
watch anime on a non-traditional anime forum page where
never,
you can
no,
get stuff for free. And definitely did not watch this movie on there.
no.
Gosh, I wouldn't do that. But
I don't do that either. Especially I didn't do that like a week ago to watch like Wanted, the movie with Angelina Jolie in it. But the only thing
mhm.
bad about those sites that I've heard rumors about, is that it's very buffery. It like
Mm.
it'll just buffer, and then I have to sit there, and it's like
It
it
depends.
it
I guess it
depends.
depends on your internet. I think I like to say this household that I live in has good internet. Good
Oh,
enough for me to stream and for like 3 to 4 other gamers game at the same time, so
well, it doesn't help that I totally didn't do this. Watch it on my Xbox One through the Internet Explorer app. So
Oh no.
I used to do. I mean, I didn't used to do this all the time. So okay, so that was a very big tangent. But anyway, we're watching. Yeah, this is the first time I watched this movie as well. So I like own a lot of the Studio Ghibli movies, but I just haven't watched them. But I like them.
Mhm.
They're fun to watch. Anyway, this was created in 1984 by Hayao Miyazaki. The big man Hayao Miyazaki. Before they officially formed Studio Ghibli. This was or Ghibli, whichever way you want to say it.
Oh.
Uh, yeah. So this came
So
out
is
two
this
years
considered
before.
like a Studio Ghibli movie?
It's been re-released and stuff. So under the Studio
Mm.
Ghibli uh name, so now they own the rights to it and stuff like that. But basically, this came out 2 years before that. Before it was
Ah, okay.
officially formed, they were making some stuff, and this was literally only the I looked at his biography. It was like the second movie film he directed.
Mm.
So, the first being a Lupin the Third movie.
I gotcha.
Yeah. Okay. Like I said, this is gonna be going much faster. Uh, got the characters. I didn't even put down a plot thing. Well, I guess we have the whole plot. The plot's
Yeah,
very
we've got
simplistic.
scenes in the movie that we
I
know.
we got like 3 clips, and then the rest is all explained. So like this movie's actually there's not much that happens in this movie, but it's still a fun watch. I think it's just I think for Studio Ghibli movies, I think this one is very by the numbers for their kind of movies. It
That you
being
said it's
like
what?
it's kind of like very by the numbers. Like the
Mm,
story is very like, okay, here's plot A, here's plot B. Whereas like Spirit Away, which we did like 2 months ago, is all like, oh, here's this magical world. You don't know what's gonna happen and stuff like that. And uh,
yeah.
this one is very by the numbers, like kind of sci-fi ish stuff. And I believe this was a manga first, and I believe Miyazaki made that manga, so that's why they made this the first movie. Um,
Mm.
but anyway, going into the characters, we have Nausicaa, voiced by Sumi Shimamoto. I'm very bad at names. Sorry if I messed that up. And Alison Lohman for the English. I did watch this in English. Did you watch this in English or Japanese?
I did watch this in English.
Okay, cool. I usually do for Studio Ghibli movies, and I don't know why. Um, I think it's just easier. It's like more accessible than the Japanese sometimes. So
Yeah, I tend to also do stuff when I watch movies, especially if they're in English, because I have like a wireless headset.
yeah,
So I tend to like walk around and like I'll pay attention, but I only watch it in Japanese if I know I'm gonna sit there and I'm gonna like pay attention to every single like subtitle that comes across the screen.
true. But Nausicaa is the princess of the Valley of the Wind. She has a connection to all the insects and animals she comes across, and she loves to explore the toxic jungle and wants to end the violence that plagues her world. The toxic jungle is basic as what it says. It's a jungle in this world where basically if you go in it, but if you're like in it for 5 minutes, you're going to die because it's that hazardous. But if you put on like a filter mask or just I guess a fucking bandana as Absol uses, um, you'll survive. So, but yeah, and so but she likes to explore that area even though she shouldn't go into there. Um, but yeah. And then there's the obviously that's what she looks like in the movie, and those are the two actresses on the right. So next, we have Lord Yupa, who is voiced by Goro Naya in Japanese, and Patrick Stewart in English. A lot of people know Patrick Stewart for freaking
X-Men?
X-Men or Star Trek. He's Picard in
Mm,
Star Trek, and
that's right.
he's Professor X in X-Men. That is right. He voices a person in Nausicaa.
What's
He's
weird to
it
me
is
is that like it's so strange looking at like who voices in like Studio Ghibli movies
yeah.
because it's like the most unexpected actors that you would see. Like I think in their newest film,
They have
um,
Christopher Nolan.
Robert,
Oh wait,
yeah,
no.
Robert Pattinson plays like the stork, and it's like a voice where unless you really knew like how his voice sounds and different stuff, I don't think you would ever guess that Robert Pattinson played it.
Yeah.
It's like such a good voice that he does too for it.
It also wasn't Christopher Nolan. Let me wait. Yeah, it's not Christopher Nolan. It's the guy who played Batman. All of a sudden I'm
Ben Affleck.
forgetting. No, no, the good Batman. Christian Bale. That's who I meant to say. Christian
Ah,
Bale.
mm, I know names. I
Yeah.
know names and actors and people.
I, I didn't really like Ben Affleck's Batman. I thought it was fine, but yeah, no, it's
He's the
Christian
only
Bale.
one that I know.
Yeah, but no, Christian Bale voices someone in the in the new Studio Ghibli movie as well. He voices Howl in Howl's Moving Castle. So,
Wait, really?
yeah.
Oh dang, I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm. So that's his second one that he's doing.
Hmm.
Uh, Patrick's like I don't. I think Patrick Stewart is a less of a surprise for like a voice acting gig because he just has that
Yeah.
voice. Like I think he's done it like a million times now. Like he's voice acted and it's beautiful. Whereas there are some people that you're all like, why did you voice act?
Mhm.
You were an actor.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, Lord Yupa, he's a lord of the lands. He travels the world helping to bring peace to the world. He's a famous swordsman, able to take down groups of men at once and protects Nausicaa when she is in trouble. So he's kind of like a roaming warrior kind of guy. He just shows up in lands. It's been like in the story, it's been like 2 years since Nausicaa last saw him, and he just kind of appears. So that's kind of what he does. He just like goes off places on his own and stuff like that. He's the traveling swordsman. So
Yeah, I think he's also traveling to find a cure for the spores
yeah,
and the toxic jungle and stuff like that. That's plaguing like the world and stuff right now.
I believe he is doing that. He also has the one of the biggest, bushiest beards, but
Mm.
surprisingly, probably the least bushy beard in this movie, as we'll see later. Like every man in this movie just has a big bushy beard, except for 3 or 4.
Hey, I mean, you got to grow it out, right?
Yeah, they look like dwarves. I'm not gonna lie, like from freaking Lord of the Rings. Like I
Like
think we're about to
the
get.
old 80s movie, or like
Yeah,
what is it, like 70s or something like that? Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
like Mito here. Or move on to Mito, who's voiced by Ichiro Nagai, Japan, and Edward James Olmos in English. And I don't know who Edward James Olmos is. I think he's
Hey,
supposed to be. I think he's a famous actor, but all I know him from is a line from Futurama, and that's it.
so yeah, I'd have to look at his work to see what I know him from.
Yeah. Uh, but Mito here, he's a noble servant of the royal family of the Valley of the Wind. He watches Nausicaa and helps take care of the king after the king is poisoned by the toxic jungle. Um, yeah, so basically, you won't see the king as a character in this because he's in it for 2 seconds, quite literally.
Mhm.
Uh, like he might be in 2 scenes and both of them last a couple of seconds. So, um, but basically the king, like, obviously, um, they kind of use king and queen like very loosely. They're not like the rulers of the land. They're just kind of like leaders in the land.
Yeah,
So, like kings and princesses, they don't have as much authority. They do have some authority, but not like to the
they're
extent.
more like guides
Yeah.
than like kings and queens.
So, but yeah, and so Mito here, he works for the royal family of the Valley of the Wind. So, but yeah, he has a very bushy beard too. Still not the biggest. Well, he has a big mustache. Still not
Yeah.
the biggest in this movie. I don't know. We will see them, I think, for like a second of who has the biggest and bushiest one. So, but next we have Absol or Asbel. I don't know. I called him Absol like the fucking Pokemon, and now that's his name.
No, it's
Uh,
stuck in your head.
yep, Absol is voiced by Yoji Matsuda in Japanese, and Shia
And fucking
LaBeouf.
Shia LaBeouf.
Yeah,
What the hell?
Shia
I was so
LaBeouf
surprised.
in
I jumped the
English.
gun and switching scenes, and I saw that. I'm like, wait, hold on. That's Shia LaBeouf. What the fuck?
Yeah, he voiced it before he was crazy. Now he's crazy now, but this is when he was younger. This came out in 1984. Well, I guess the English dub actually came out probably much later. Um, but yeah, no, Shia LaBeouf voices him. It's very weird, very strange. Uh, but yeah, so he is the prince from the city of Pajite. Also, it never says that he's a prince, but his twin sister is a princess, so I assume he's a prince. His twin sister dies after her airship crashes in the valley, Absol has a pure hatred for the Tolmekian army, but follows Nausicaa in her quest. Also, I do like that their name is Tolmekian, which is very close to what's it? Who's the guy that made Lord of the Rings? Tolkien. It's
Tolkien.
like very close to Tolkien, which is just funny to me. But yeah, he's just kind of there. Absol here, he's just kind of there. He does like one important thing. But I figured I might as well add him just because Shia LaBeouf voices him, and I thought that was very strange. Yeah. So that was kind of it with Absol. Like, he's there. You'll see him do one thing in one of the clips, and that's about it. So next we have Kushana, who is very beautiful, by the way. Look at her. She's voiced by Yoshiko Sakakibara in Japanese, and Uma Thurman in English.
Very interesting.
It is very interesting. You'll know, most people will know Uma Thurman from Quentin Tarantino movies. She is the bride in Kill Bill, Volume 1 and 2. And she...
Oh,
no, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I only know her from the horrible Percy Jackson movie. What they made.
Really?
You know,
oh, yeah,
she plays like Medusa.
Right, she does.
Good actress.
She's a good actress.
But I hate the movie.
Yeah. She's also in Pulp Fiction. She plays the wife of the big gangster guy. So.
Oh.
Yeah, she's the one that ODs on drugs. So, I believe that. Yeah, it's Uma Thurman. I'm like now I'm just like second guessing myself, double guessing myself. I'm so smart and know English, this language that I've said since my birth. Yeah, it is Uma Thurman. Okay, cool. I just had a second. I had to check. Also, if you haven't seen Pulp Fiction, that's a fun movie.
I have seen that.
Samuel L. Jackson.
Fucking whack.
He's great. I love Samuel L. Jackson. He's my favorite part of the prequels in Star Wars, just because he's Samuel L. Jackson. He's just there. He also loves anime too. So, I don't know. That was just a random fact that I wanted to say. But anyway, Kushana is the Tolmekian princess. Not a queen, just the princess, who holds the village of Wind hostage after chasing after the fire warrior from the crashed airship. Wants to burn the toxic jungle to the ground. So her description says she's the secondary villain in this. And you know what? After saying that, I think yes, she is the secondary villain. I know who the true villain is.
Mm-hmm.
But no, go ahead. Sorry, I cut you off.
No, I was gonna say, yeah, she's like one of the main antagonists in this.
Yeah, and so, so you don't know what the Fire Warrior is if you haven't watched the movie. Basically, it's just this weird organism that they find that can breathe fire and like basically destroy anything. And she wants to like revive that so that they could just burn the toxic jungle to the ground. Because the toxic jungles has like all these plants in it that are toxic and stuff like that. But you're fine as long as you're like away from it. And they bloom and then spread their spores everywhere. And then if those spores get out of the forest, they grow and then can send out more toxic spores. And so like you have to be careful, and they can infect like forests and stuff like that. So she just wants to like burn that to the ground and be all like, okay, we're done with it. But obviously that doesn't happen. So that's why she wants like the Fire Warrior, which was being carried in that airship that the Princess of Pajite died in. So And then our last character is Kurotoa, voiced by Aimasa Kayumi in Japan, and Chris Sarandon. Chris
I don't know
Sarandon.
who that is.
I don't know who. Fuck, I saw it. I literally Googled it. I'm like, have I seen him in something? And it was something that I've seen. Fuck, what is it? Me trying to remember all I can. Here we go. Who is he? Oh, he's in freaking. Oh. Oh shit! Yeah, no, we know. He's in Princess Bride. He plays Prince Humperdinck, and then he voices Jack Skellington in Nightmare Before Christmas.
Wait, what?
Yeah,
Okay, I didn't know that.
that's who voices.
Interesting.
He voices Jack Skellington, not for the singing parts, only for the singing parts are actually done by Han or what? Who is it? It's
Hans Zimmerman.
Hans Zimmerman. Yeah, he voices Jack Skellington, I believe, during those parts. So, but yeah, I guess he voices Jack Skellington. Didn't know that.
The
Pretty
more
cool.
you know.
I know, right? Oh wait, no, it's Danny Elfman that voices him during the singing parts. The boy. So, but yeah, so obviously he's not a stranger to voice acting, which is nice. But anyway, the character, he's a right-hand man to Princess Kushana. After the princess takes Nausicaa prisoner, he takes control of the army and follows the plan to revive the Fire Warrior. He's also he's just there. He's funny at times, but he's just kind of there. He does, besides reviving the Fire Warrior, that's all he does, really. He doesn't do anything else big. I guess he kills the king, but... Right? Is he the one that kills the king? Yeah, he kills the king, and that's it. Like, the king of the Valley of the Wind. So...
Yeah.
But, yeah. We do have 3 clips, but the rest will all be, just words, and we'll discuss them. But the first thing, Disney princess vibes. We are introduced to Nausicaa and Lord Yupa. Nausicaa calms a squirrel fox and befriends him just like every Disney princess. Except more badass, because she, as we'll see. But yeah. And all these clips are the English version. These are the only 3 clips I could find on YouTube, so this is that's all you get.
I gotcha.
Yeah, I brought down the volume on through.
That's the cutest thing in the whole world.
It is adorable, and I want it. It kind of looks like Cat Bus from My Neighbor Totoro.
Yeah. I love the feel that Studio Ghibli movies have, where it's like a very 80s kind of style of.
I do too.
Of animation.
See, she is a Disney princess. Actually, I believe Disney owns the rights to Studio Ghibli movies in America.
Yeah, I think so too.
But yeah, she has Disney princess energy, but badass Disney princess energy, because she lets herself get bit to calm it down, which is interesting. So it's only a minute long clip, so I'll play it again just because. Also, I will say, I don't know if it was intentional, but they put leggings on her character. They don't look like leggings. It looks like she's not wearing them. And so when she's flying around, it's very weird to me. I don't know. I acknowledge that while I watched this movie. It just looks like she's not wearing anything, but she's wearing leggings. I'm all like, what the fuck? I just questioned it because she was flying around, and I'm all like, why would you wear a dress while flying around?
You were just a little scared, weren't
you? Look at it. I didn't add a character thing, but its name is Tito. and it's adorable,
Will you let me keep him, Lord Yupa?
and we're all getting 20 of them.
Yes, of course.
Kai!
It's so interesting the way that they create animals,
Yeah.
and like bugs and stuff. Like, I don't know. It's just like if you were to think of like a fox squirrel, it's an actual like creature, and so I would think of that more than I would ever think of like something that almost looks like a discount Pikachu
Yeah.
mixed with like an Eevee.
It definitely
But
looks more fox than squirrel to me. I guess the squirrel
yeah,
part is just that it's very small,
it could
but
be, could be.
I mean, but also it's never stated. Is this like no, I guess it is stated. This is Earth, right? Like this is
Yes, this
Earth.
is
Years
like
and
Earth after
thousands
like
of
a
years.
whole. It was it they said it was like the industrialized world of Earth fell and gave way to like all these
Yeah.
toxic fumes and stuff, and it's like the disconnect between industrialization and nature basically created this disruption between humans and the planet that they live on. And so from that, it's like nature tried to take over and then bugs, but then it's like everything was basically toxic to the point where everything has now transformed into what you see. Because I think it's like 1,000. I think it's like
Yeah, it has to be
1,000
1,000,
years.
like at least 1,000.
Hmm.
I'm pretty sure Hayao Miyazaki got heavily inspired by like Planet of the Apes or something like that, because this movie just feels like Planet of the Apes. Um,
Something along that, right?
yeah, uh, very much. It feels like Planet of the Apes mixed with Fern Gully. Like just add the environmental message from Fern Gully.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure Fern Gully just fully ripped off this movie. So, but Fern Gully at least has Tim Curry as like the sludge as a draw. So, but yeah, no.
Yeah.
It's just a fun opening scene because it really does feel like she's just a Disney princess, like all the animals being all friendly to her and everything like that.
Oh
So,
yeah.
like it's not it's very much like that opening. So, uh, yeah. So I guess we'll go on to the next one now, as long as it doesn't glitch out.
No.
I titled. Wait, is this correct? Yes, it is. Okay.
Yes.
Me being all like, I made these like a few hours ago, but whatever. I have a bad memory. I titled this princess didn't have plot armor. A Tomekian airship crashes in the Valley of the Wind. Nausicaa goes to investigate and sees a princess in chains. After talking to her, the princess tells her to destroy the cargo, which turns out to be the Fire Warrior. The Tomekian princess arrives with a small army, takes over the valley, as well as takes Nausicaa hostage and forces her to go with her to the city of Pajite. Right? That's where they're going? I kind of forgot.
I
Go.
don't know. I think they're going to the
They might,
Tolmekian city.
they might be going to the Tomekian city, and that's fine if I mess that up. Because
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. They don't make it, so it doesn't matter where they're
Yeah,
going.
they don't make it, but I find it very interesting that it's like all the areas in this movie are controlled by princesses
Yeah.
to a certain degree. The fact that it's like they're basically like either the warriors or the diplomats, like they are the main figure that kind of
Person.
goes out.
Yeah. We did skip a little bit. Basically, we have now been introduced to the insects, which are ohms, which are cute. They're actually kind of cute. They're
They're
like
like
big.
little like kind of like a mix between a millipede and like a caterpillar.
Yeah, they're kind of like a trilobite or something.
Yeah, there you
So,
go.
um, but basically they're like the ones that protect the forest, but their skin or like their skin and stuff is like super strong. Like it's like the strongest material in the world. And Nazca actually, like, while exploring the forest, finds a dead ohm and wants to like bring it back to the village so that they can make things with it that would be very strong, like hard to destroy.
Yeah, very beneficial for them.
Yeah, and that doesn't happen, so that doesn't truly matter. But in that scene, Lord Yupa is saying, I had to pull my gun and kill an insect because I wanted to save the squirrel fox. And that's why I was being chased. So he was getting chased by one of the big ohms, like the big adult ohms, and Nausicaa came in here, used her Disney princess magic, calmed it down, and had it go back into the forest and stuff like that. So she truly is just a Disney princess.
Yeah, no, she's one of the unofficial Disney princesses because I think what is it? Anastasia's up there too. She's not a
Yeah.
Disney princess. But she's a princess.
She is a princess.
No,
And
but something else that we learn as well is that a lot of the insects respond to what is around them. So it's like if you start shooting or you start killing the insects or harming like the forest in any kind of manner, the forest will like come and fight back and stuff. As far as we learn, it's like anything that happens in the forest, the bugs will protect it.
yeah, they don't care if you're in the forest as long as you don't
Yeah.
like mess with things. They're like, yeah, just be in the forest. This has a very big environmental message, obviously, and most things in forests won't necessarily attack you unless you like are fucking with their home and stuff like that. And so that's kind of like the message, is that they're just protecting their own home and stuff like that. But yeah, and then nothing really I'm not gonna lie, nothing really happens. She goes back to town, talks to Mido and Yupa a little bit, and then that's when the airship crashes. She meets the princess of Pajite, who immediately dies. So that's why she doesn't get a character slide. And then she tells Nausicaa to just burn what's in the cargo, which a little bit of time later is this big thing to the bottom right
Big old
here.
ball.
Yeah, it's just like a big ball of flesh or something, and it's like pulsating, and so
it's like the village people don't even really know what to do with it, but
yeah,
it's like it's the only thing that's
isn't
really they've like I think they tried to get rid of it, but it's like nothing really does anything, and then they realize like, oh crap, like all like the weird little veins and stuff that are like coming out of it, it's all pulsating, like it's alive, whatever is in there.
And so shortly after the crash, the Tolmekian army, like small army attacks the village. They invade. They just go and kill the king. The king's already dying because he's sick from the spores from the toxic jungle because they live very close to it. So he's dying anyway, but
he's bedridden, but they just go ahead and get rid of him right off the bat.
Yeah, so he kills him, and it is Kurotawa that kills him. And so Nausicaa gets angry, fights back, is actually able to take out a good amount of soldiers before getting, like, overpowered. And then, like I said, the Tolmekian princess here, basically, takes Nausicaa hostage, and the whole village hostage as well. And basically tells her that I'm going somewhere. It's either Pajite or the Tolmekian city. It's either one of those two. And says, okay, I'm taking you, Nausicaa. I need 4 more hostages, so pick your hostages. So she picks Mido and 3 old men to be like the rest of the hostages. And before they leave, though, the princess of Tolmekian tells Kurotawa to basically start the revival process on the Fire Warrior here, because their biggest airship, it's so much heavier that their biggest airship couldn't take it to the Tolmekian city, and so they just start reviving it there. And then we're on to the next slide. The next section is the giant airships are made of paper mache. They really are. After being taken by the Temeckian princess, Nausicaa and the other hostages are put on an airship to be taken to Pagite, but they are attacked by a lone Pagite gunship. We can just start the... We could start the clip. It'll explain it to them on itself.
Oh yeah.
But yeah. So basically, there's the old man. They have the biggest, bushiest beards.
Oh yeah. I think the beard also equals age, you know.
I think so, yeah. They're old. They're old men. They like complaining a lot. It's kind of what they do. But yeah, they're just on the way to... I kept on saying Pajite. It could be the Temeckian city. It's one of those two places. Oh yeah, and this is when we learn that only some of the clouds are infected with the poison gas of the toxic jungle. It doesn't always happen. Like not all of them are.
Mm-hmm.
But literally in this scene, a single small fucking ship is able to destroy all of these gigantic airships in like just a few shots.
Yeah.
So
I feel like I think it's kind of true because, well, going on to do some history here. So like I know like during the world wars, and I think it's especially true for like bigger planes. Bigger planes don't move as fast as smaller ones, and so
Yeah.
like if you have like a bomb carrier that's supposed to carry like something that has a whole bunch of weight, you actually have to have fighter jets around it. Otherwise, they make for really easy targets. And these
Okay.
people just apparently weren't thinking as much of a war nation as they were. So
Look, I know they're like a war. They are a war nation, but they fucking suck at war. Uh,
yeah, look at that.
Look at that. They got two of the ships got taken out with one shot, like one round of
Mhm.
shots. Yeah. Also, they put the old men just in a barge there. Oh yeah, that was weird too. Where
Yeah,
like
that
she puts
scene I
Tato.
saw that I'm like, what the fuck is she doing?
I'm all like, oh shit, we just get like full on cleavage right there. I was just
Studio
like,
Ghibli, what
alrighty,
kind of a movie
ooh,
are you making?
yeah. Everybody dies, but you know, it's just it's
Nausicaa's the
kind of common.
peacemaker. She's the one that's trying her hardest.
Yeah, I mean, she tries to yell at... That's Absol, by the way. Literally just
Mm.
tries yelling at Absol, please stop. There's no way he's hearing ya. But somehow he does hear her at that
Yeah,
scene. I'm
it's
all like,
weird. I
what?
think I think they alluded to her having some sort of like mystical like power in the very beginning of the thing. Like she has a
Yeah,
way with life and bugs and, you know, the earth
everything,
that
yeah.
most people don't.
I will say one of the I don't know if it's supposed to be like this, but one of the drawbacks to the movie is a lot of the men look the same and all of the women
Mm.
look the same. Like every woman looks like Nausicaa. Like
Yeah, it's a little hard to tell. I think the clothing is probably like
the biggest
what.
indicator, yeah.
Yeah.
But it literally was like I started the movie and like I see the Tolmekian princess when she takes off her like armor and stuff. I'm all like, "Oh, is that Nausicaa's mom?" Because it looks exactly like her. So I'm all like,
Yeah.
oh, is it just her mom or something? Like, I know
Long lost
hers.
sister or something.
Yeah, I know hers is like orange and hers is red, but still, like, I was all like, oh, must be her mother or something. So,
Something
but
along
yeah,
those lines, but
all of them get destroyed real quickly, and then they get into the gunship that they brought with them and basically escape. And you get to see Nausicaa being, you know, her hero self and save the Princess Tolmekian, even though she didn't need to. So,
no.
but yeah. So, well, I did say, oh wait, I'm not on. That's because I'm not on there. There you go. I'm not clicked into the PowerPoint. That's why well, like I'm trying to use the keyboard. Like I said, this is not going to take nearly as long as Schindler's List. We're gonna probably blow through this movie. It's a good movie. I recommend it. Like if you want,
it's a very entertaining movie.
it is. I think one of the drawbacks is that there's a lot of slow scenes that don't need to be
Yeah,
slow.
it's kind of like one of those movies where like I think you enjoy probably like one or maybe like two times, but it's like one of those things where it's like you can't watch it back to back to back.
No.
I feel like it's like something like, oh, you watch it maybe in like a couple of months or something like that. Oh yeah, I'm gonna want, nostalgia. Let me go ahead and excuse me. Let me go ahead and like rewatch it.
Yeah, I would watch this and Ferngully back to back if you really like. Both of them are great movies, so I'd be all like, okay, cool. I'm in an environmentalist message kind of day. I'm gonna watch this and Ferngully, like, but yeah. Anyway, the next section, dude really just starts shooting a jungle full of bugs. The only survivors of the gunship attack are Nausicaa, the 4 other hostages, including Mito, and the Tolmekian princess, so they have to make an emergency landing into the toxic jungle. As Nausicaa sends the rest back to the Valley of the Wind, she goes deeper into the jungle to save the Pajite gunmen. They end up running from bugs and go underneath the toxic jungle, finding out the air is safe there. So, once again, her being main character and a Disney princess, she needs to go save everybody. So, after they escape the attack and land into the toxic jungle, she sends the Tolmekian princess and the 4 hostages just back to the Valley of the Wind, and goes after Absol and basically finds him, and the dude's just shooting in the forest, literally just shooting at bugs, which is just pissing them off. And so she has to come in and save him and like run, like tell him to run because you're not gonna fucking survive and you're an idiot for shooting guns in here. So, oh yeah. And then they find this, like, they end up underneath the toxic forest, and they see this, like, forest of petrified trees like that, and they find out that the air is perfectly normal down there, and these, like, and it's because of these, like, petrified trees, like, absorbing all of the toxin, I believe is what they were saying. I actually don't fully remember what they said around that point, so... Nausicaa,
yeah, it's like Nausicaa like does like I think you figure out about this point in time too a little bit before that Nausicaa's been experimenting with this like the spores and stuff like that.
yeah,
And she found out that it's the soil that's toxic, not the actual plants or the water or anything like that. Um and that by being down here, it's like the soil is everything that's up above. So the part below it is like perfectly fine and healthy and
yeah,
green and stuff.
yeah. And then not like when she's down here, Nausicaa has like she just randomly has this wild theory, and we just kind of have to accept that that's it because we don't get any other context of why the forest is down there. She's just all like, "Oh yeah, I guess these trees here must be absorbing all the toxins and yada yada, so that's why we can breathe down here." Also, the severity of these toxins, like everybody freaks out when they see them and puts on their mask. Nausicaa takes off her mask while trying to help land the old men in that little plane. She takes off her mask and like talks to them, and then just puts it back on. And all she says is, "Oh, I inhaled some of the poison," and that's it. And we just move on from that.
Yeah, hey, listen, movies gotta have their plot armor,
That's
right?
true. I mean,
Or plot holes.
they did state after 5 minutes in it, that's you're dead. But like,
It's
yeah,
kind
she's
of
fine.
yeah, I feel like it's kind of like the same thing as like radiation. It's like,
Probably.
when you get an X-ray, it's like, oh, you're exposed to radiation, but it's such a small amount that it's not really that great. But however, if you do like 100, X-rays in a row, then it kind of, it starts to get a little dicey.
Yeah.
But that's probably like
Which
it. It's
this,
like, oh, a little bit of toxins is fine, but anything longer than that's too much.
yeah, which this clearly is what this all is alluding to, is that humanity had some kind of probably nuclear war, and they just changed nuclear war to fire warriors instead, being the cause. There's apparently a short film that's like all 3D and shows like the destruction that the fire warriors brought. I didn't find it. I didn't watch it. I should watch it at some point, but it looked cool. But yeah, so it's all alluding. This is 1984, so a lot of movies around this time is like Cold War stuff. They're all like, we don't know if a nuclear apocalypse is gonna happen or not. Always like both Russia and America are like one step away from pressing the button. And a ton of movies during that age, like, basically added that to their messages and stuff like that. So,
Yeah.
and this is just one of the interpretations of what a nuclear holocaust would have done. So, but yeah. So Absol and Nausicaa just are underneath the toxic jungle, breathing air, having fun, talking, getting to know each other. Yeah, they're having a great time. And then I put the next slide is
Yes.
Pajite is just as bad. So after leaving the toxic jungle, Nausicaa and Absol go. I put Absol. I don't think that's his. I think I misspelled his name on this thing.
I think so. I
I'm
think
pretty
it's
sure.
I don't know. It's okay.
I think it's like
It's all right. We have
Absol, but I call him Absol because it's more fun that
yeah.
way. Go to Pajite and find that the city is dead from insects and fighting. It's obviously the insects attacked, but also like something else happened there. I'm not even
Yeah,
like 100%.
we don't really find out what exactly happened. We just
Mhm.
know that now the city of Pajite is no
Dead.
more and has been kind of desolate.
Yeah.
Which the one thing I do like is when like they see an airship that goes by, and it's got I believe the people of Pajite from the city that's there because they
Yeah.
recognize. I'm just gonna call him Absol too. They recognize Absol as well, and they're like, "Oh, hey, it's him!" And he gets angry of like, "Well, what did you do? Like our town's completely destroyed. I'm so angry." And then he goes, I guess like the king or maybe the advisor or something like that. The main guy that you see in the bottom left basically
They
says,
they call him the
um,
mayor. He's the mayor
yeah,
of
the
Pajite,
mayor,
so
says, "Oh, well, don't worry, we can rebuild." And it's
yeah.
like, okay. His like insight is kind of like it's almost like a kind of go with the flow kind of thing, but I kind of
Mhm.
liked that response of it's like, oh well, we shouldn't worry about the city too much. It's like we've got the people, we'll just have to rebuild our home again.
Yeah. So I think what the movie alludes to is basically the Telmekian army overthrew Pajite, and so in response, the people that got away did what they're doing to Nausicaa's village right now. They sent insects in, and there's probably like this big fight, stuff like that, and I think because the insects died there, there's now spores in the city and stuff like that. That part's not explained that well, but there's like spores in the city. Um, and I think a little bit later on it gets explained that Pajite, well, in that scene actually where he's like saying all this, like Absol is saying all this stuff, he says like this isn't what the plan was supposed to be, or something along those lines, because they had the fire warrior and they were going to revive it and control it and not destroy the forest, but they were gonna use it to protect themselves and stuff like that. Um,
Mm-hmm.
or they were just gonna use it on the Tolmekians. They weren't gonna use it on the forest, whereas the Tolmekians just want to use it on the forest. But then
Yeah.
obviously Tolmekians came and invaded. and took the fire warrior with them. But anyway, a Pajite airship shows up and they take Nausicaa hostage after they say that they intentionally sent insects into the city to kill the Tomekian army, and they plan to do it again in the Valley of the Wind to kill the army and take back the fire. So, once again, Nausicaa's like a hostage, like 2/3 of this
80%.
movie.
Yeah.
2/3 of the movie
Quite a
she's a
bit.
hostage. So, and in this scene, Absol tries to help her, like taking out a gun and like aiming it, but then he gets just hit on the back of the head. And they load both of them up onto that plane that they were and taken. But yeah, and then let's see what do we got. Okay, a little bit later on, Nausicaa escapes from the Pajite ship. Also, the title of this is "Damn, Pajite might be even worse than Tomekian." That's my opinion though. Nausicaa escapes from the Pajite thanks to the help of Absol and his family. Basically, they just did the old switcheroo. To his Absol's mom and I think another sister, go into like her room, giving her water and food, and then the sister takes off her clothes and gives them to Nausicaa, and Nausicaa gives her clothes so she can pretend to be Nausicaa. And then they just give her glider back so that she can go and warn the people of the valley. I also said warn instead of warn. Whatever. Mm-hmm. So she goes to warn the valley of their plan, but along the way, she sees that the Pajite have injured a baby Ohm and plan to take it, to place it in the valley so that all the Ohms attack and kill everyone. While this goes on, the village revolts against the army. Because of the crash, toxic spores ended up in the village. So, yeah. Basically, the village revolts against the army. Army's already low on numbers anyway because of the gunship fight. And they're being held at gunpoint at like this old nuclear sub or something like that. I think that's what it's supposed to be.
I think so.
Yeah. And so they're like stopped right there, but then Nausicaa comes along, sees what the Pajite's doing, and tries to stop it. I'm gonna play the video, but I'm gonna go to the bathroom real quick. I'm sorry.
Okay. Why isn't this HD? Oh, because it's the highest it'll go. I think this scene as well, there's like an airship that is like dragging the baby Ohm along as well. And then Nausicaa is able to shoot it down. But she gets shot in the process too of this. So she's like injured trying to go to this baby Ohm and help it out. But it's bleeding quite a bit.
I'm not gonna hurt you. Don't be frightened. I'm not your enemy. I'm so sorry. Is there any way you can forgive us? We've treated you so badly. No, don't move. You'll bleed to death. Come on, be a good boy. Hold still.
Oh no! They found us! They're coming this way!
No, you can't go in this lake with wounds like that! This water is bad! It's filled with acid!
There's a scene in here too, which I think we went over, but there's a brief point where Nausicaa actually found a baby Ohm at one point in time, and was like trying to take care of it and hide, and the village people that she was with stole it, and I think got rid of it, but I don't remember what actually happened if that's actually what they're. But I know that she actually found when she was little a baby ohm as well.
All right, I'm back.
Welcome back.
Yeah.
It's gonna be alright. Soon they'll be here to take us home.
Yeah, I think at this point I was all like, you know what? Ajite might be even worse than Tolmekian.
Where are they going?
I know, like, I'm comparing two evil actions, but still. Like, the Tolmekians just, they're like a army nation type thing, whereas the Pajite are literally dragging in a different group into their fight to fight them for themselves. Who clearly, and like, yes, the Ohms are insects, but clearly they have feelings and thoughts and stuff like that, so, like, it's kind of more messed up bringing them in who don't care about the fight. They just want to get the baby back, so. I will say, Nausicaa is the coolest Disney princess, because she'll pick up a gun.
Yeah, right?
But there's no way you'll survive.
Yeah. And it's also, this scene's kind of sad, just because you see what they've done to this little baby.
Yeah,
Like,
even though it's an insect, it's like
yeah, it's still a baby.
they still were not.
So,
Oh.
yeah. And
No, that's not what I wanted. There we go.
But yeah, no. It's just kind of sad because, like, it's just a little baby. It's not doing anything. Probably hasn't even killed anybody. And you're literally, like, sticking what look like the ends of spears and shit
like,
into it.
Spears and missiles and just prods and hooks and all sorts of stuff.
But once again, we get a little bit of her Disney princessness where she calms the baby Ohm down, making it realize that it can't swim in the acid lake. So, which is nice. And then I do like the. It's very stereotypical, but to have their eyes be red when they're
angry.
On the attack, yeah, angry, and then have them be blue when they're not. It's a nice little thing that.
A nice little like visual detail and stuff.
Yeah, so. But I will say, I know what I figure it is supposed to be, like the baby Ohm's blood, but her dress does just go from pink to blue randomly.
Yeah.
It goes. Like, it's pink and, like, right when she's beforehand, and then, like, the next time you see her, it's dark blue. I'm pretty sure there has to have been, like, a cut scene or something.
I think there was a costume swap.
Yeah.
I think when it's like she was captured and then she escaped, I think there was a costume swap there. But yeah, I know what you're talking about. As far as I remember correctly, I think so. But now that you're asking me, I cannot be like.
No, it was. Sure. I'm like looking at the clip. It was pink and then it just turns blue. I think it's supposed to insinuate that the baby Ohm's blood, which their blood is blue, basically dyed her shirt, is what I think it's supposed to mean. But they could have done a better job of showing, like, explaining that. Alright, then on to the last little bit. We got a fairy tale ending. It truly is a fairy tale ending. You know, the fairy tale ending that we all know about with the giant red fucking dripping flesh beast coming out.
The one that Nausicaa, our Disney princess, deserves.
True. Shortly after the Ohm invasion arrives, the Fire Warrior awakens and attacks the Ohm, but it was not fully completed, so it breaks down really quick. As this happens, Nausicaa arrives with the baby Ohm, stopping the invasion, but shortly dies from her wounds, having to get revived. She died, right? I'm not, like, making that up.
I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
Like, it was either that or she was, like, dying. She was
It's one of the two.
very heavily injured.
Yeah. Having to get revived by the Ohm, and then everyone lives happily ever after, with the army leaving, and who knows what happens to the Pajite. I know they do, like, that... They do, like, a slideshow ending. Like, oh, here's where they are now, kind of thing. Through the credits, but I don't remember seeing anything for the Pajite while watching that, so... I don't know if, like, I don't know if they got any repercussions from this, but I don't know. Yeah. Just, like, a very fairy tale ending. And this is, like, the last shot is her just standing on all of the Ohm's tentacles in, like, a golden field. And then it's revealed...
Yeah.
And then it's revealed that Baba Yaga, who is, like, the seer or fortune teller of this kingdom, says that there was a prophecy of a man dressed in blue in a field of gold that, like, saves the world. Joke's on them, it's a woman. So.
A woman.
A woman.
Got him.
Ow. But yeah, and so it is very much a fairy tale ending, especially when they just throw in the prophecy thing. That was kind of weird. But yeah. Overall, it was a good movie. Also, the Red Warrior is terrifying looking.
He really is. Like, in the past scenes, they actually show him as, like, a construct that's like walking around and actually looks like he's kind of like a man-made robot, basically. But it's like this, it's almost like it's a constant melting orb of, like, flesh, and it's so gross.
Well, and this one isn't fully completed. Obviously, he died. It gets just, like, it breaks down a little bit later. So this is what Toa did. This is all he did, really. Absol, all he did was literally shoot down some gunships, and that's about it. But Nausicaa kind of did everything. Mito and Yuba did more, or Yupa, but yeah. Overall, it's a fine enough Studio Ghibli.
Yeah, I mean it's entertaining. I think it's cute. I always love the Studio Ghibli, like, art style. So
yeah, me too.
It's always a good watch.
Pretty. So I know a lot of people enjoy it. So I'm glad we got to do this one. I don't know if I think I still like Spirited Away and My Neighbor Totoro and Kiki's Delivery Service more, but this was fine. An alright Studio Ghibli movie is probably way better than an alright American movie, to be truthful. So,
yeah.
But yeah. I think that's about it for Nausicaa. Do you have anything? What are your final thoughts on it?
I don't know. For a movie that I haven't seen, I was like very entertained the whole time watching it, and it was something that I really enjoyed. And I feel like there are some, like, slow kind of times in there where it's like, yeah, I don't know if they could have, like, done it in like a different way, but for what it's worth, I think I mean, like, I would recommend it. Probably be like a 4 out of 5, I feel like.
Yeah.
I feel like there are other Studio Ghibli movies that I enjoy more, but this one was also made 2 years before
It was actually,
like you said,
formed.
like, it was actually formed, so.
Yeah, and yeah, no, like an alright Studio Ghibli movies loads better than anything like an alright fucking American movie where it's all like, it was fine. This, I'm all like, oh no, it was fine, it was good. Like, I'm more energetic with this than some other movies that are just fine. But yeah, no. Obviously got the environmental message, like, even in 1984, we still had we're probably gonna kill the Earth. It's nice to know that we're correct. But yeah, so you like, yeah. Even back then, they still had that environmentalist message, and I don't know. It's just fun. It's basically anime Disney princess, and I enjoy that. So it's good.
Yeah.
Right.
But all right, we finally after almost 4 hours we
I know, right?
finished our movies.
I know. We just need to figure out what we're doing for the next stuff. So
I thought we picked the movies out for the next one.
that's for next week. We got to figure out for next month.
Oh crap!
Alrighty, it's okay. The wheel's up right now, so let's see.
All right, let's go. Roll it out. Let's see what we get.
And I'm probably gonna watch the trailers real quick, but you don't have to watch them if you need to get going. I understand. We got Paddington from Anchor. Awesome. I've never seen.
Oh wait,
Paddington.
is that the new one?
No,
is it like the 3D animated one?
Yeah, I believe so. Like I haven't seen either of them.
Is it the Paddington in real life? Like what they kind of do
live
with
action
Sonic?
one.
Okay, yeah, the live action. That's the word. Real life 3D, same thing, right?
So I've actually never seen either of these. So
you said it was Paddington and which one?
So we got Paddington, and then we have. Let's see. I was sending them into the Discord. And Bullet Train. Madman chose
Bullet Train? I've never heard of that one either.
That one, ooh, okay, I won't explain it because we're gonna watch the trailers. Anchor chose that.
Here, do you have a...
Yeah, I'll send you a link when I get them up. I've heard good things about this movie. I have not seen it personally. All I know is some of the actors in it, so... But let me... I always have to hide my screen real quick. Go to the YouTubes. It's fine. Paddington trailer. Okay, I believe this is 2014.
Oh god, that's a really long time.
I know, right? But I've heard that the second one is like a perfect movie.
It's an action comedy? Hold on.
Oh, for
Bullet Train?
Yes.
Yeah, Paddington's an action comedy guy.
I'm like, this is an action comedy.
Wait.
What? No, you're not allowed to look.
I feel like I've seen... Okay, I have never seen Bullet Train, but I think I've seen the trailer before. And I think it was wacky and weird, and I was like, this isn't a movie I'm gonna watch.
It looks... I've heard that it's actually fun. So...
It's got Brad Pitt.
It does have
Brad
boy. Pitt. I love Brad Pitt, so... Here are the two links for you.
Okay, let's see. The synopsis that IMDb has is 5 assassins aboard a swiftly moving bullet train find out that their mission has something in common. Yep. I'm assuming with that synopsis, they're all out to kill each other, and it's going to be like the first assassin that can kill, like that survives, is going to be like the winner or something. All right. That's what I feel like it's going to be. I'm calling the plot right now.
Nice and queued up. We'll start with Paddington.
Okay, hold on.
As long as it shows.
I gotta...
Let me know when you're ready and then I'll click play.
Okay. Okay, I'm ready.
Strangely enough, I upload these to YouTube, Strangely enough, I have not once been copyrighted on watching these trailers.
Yo,
Like,
Pog.
I know, right? It's only the content, like the clips, that have ever been like
Probably because this is actually the stuff that's like commercially available as part of like a trailer, and then it's like, oh, can't watch anything else of the movie. But all right, I'm ready when you are.
Oh, okay. I clicked it. Sorry.
Oh,
I'm like 20 seconds in. I'm sorry. I did it
Hold
without
on.
thinking. I'll pause. I'm at 26. Tell me when you're at 26.
oh, I actually clicked on 26.
Oh, perfect. Then let's go.
Okay, all right, ready? 3, 2, 1, go.
Go.
Or perhaps you'd like an English name.
An English name?
This movie did.
Paddington.
Paddington.
This movie did always look cute,
Sorry.
From the producer.
but I never watched it.
You've literally just brought home a
I think I used to read the books when I was like little,
It's much
Oh.
more silly
but
than you think.
I don't know.
I know it's like a British kids book.
Besides, what's the worst that could happen?
I mean, he is adorable. But yeah,
It's
I
like
guess.
George of the Jungle.
Oh, I
Not
love
George of the
George
Jungle.
George.
Frick, what was it? It's the Curious George. That's the
Curious
one that I'm
George.
thinking of.
Okay.
Yeah.
I also like Curious George.
Curious George is like the, I don't know if it's a British one, but I know it's, I know my brother used to read it when he was like young. That
It
it's
is-
it's
It's
a
not a
kids
British
thing
one.
too.
It's New York, because I believe he's in.
That's
like,
what, yeah, that's what I thought.
But trouble was looking for him.
A talking bear? You are going to
But yeah. Oh, taxidermist. Ooh.
Ooh, don't know if I like the sound of that.
Yeah, I know that the second Paddington 2 had a rating of 100% before like one critic or when one person like gave it a bad review.
Family needs that bear
Huh.
every bit as
Yeah.
much as he needs you.
He's finding.
Oh, look at him, he has a jacket, a little hat.
Cutie.
Or that he has a worrying mother.
Also, he has magical powers, I guess.
Did you say?
He just went through that movie
Crazy.
screen.
Families stick together.
Look at him go.
This'll be fun to watch. It will just be like a normal family movie, I believe.
Yep.
So, but I enjoy those, so I don't really care. They're fun.
Mm-hmm.
So, ignore the fact that I'm gonna kill Santa Claus by Danny
2015.
Gonzalez is like at the top of this for whatever. Alrighty.
Alright.
I'm on
got Bullet Train.
I'm looking at Brad Pitt's face with these big nerd glasses.
Oh yeah. Alright. I'm ready.
I'm ready to. 3, 2, 1. Mexico. This I do remember. It's the quiet. It's the quiet car. Yeah.
There's a gun.
I believe there's a red trailer, but we're not watching that one. We're just watching the normal. Dude, Staying
Interesting.
Alive? I fucking love it. Oh, it's the Japanese version of Staying Alive. Hell yeah.
Talk to me.
I am ready. You are getting the new and improved me. Because if you put peace out in the world, you get peace back.
I think you might be forgetting what you do for a living. Take the gun.
Every job I do, somebody dies. I'm not that guy anymore.
Some conflicts
I
require.
like that Brad Pitt has accepted. He's just a dad now. I mean,
He is, and he's just an action movie guy.
Mm-hmm. He's just a dad now. But he is still fit. He's still good looking, but he's just accepted his role.
Doesn't get simpler.
Oh wait, fuck, what she is? She's in something.
You stab me?
Yeah, a family friend said that this movie is hilarious, so I've been meaning to
Interesting.
watch this.
I don't even know you.
Ooh, director of Deadpool 2 did this? Hell yeah.
Something else going on here.
Yeah, I'm not the only one on this train looking for this case.
Oh.
Shit, I'm so close. That girl is in something. I know.
Wait a fucking second.
We are right on schedule.
Everything that's ever happened
Hold on.
This is gonna sting, bitch!
has led you.
Is that Logan Lerman?
Who?
Fate.
I know him. He's in. He's the Japanese man is in Army of the Dead. I don't know if you've seen that.
Maybe, maybe not.
Have anything sparkling? That's the one.
Army of the Dead's that Netflix
Hold on.
zombie movie.
Oh, no, maybe not.
Talk this out.
Not particularly, no.
Okay.
No, I don't.
Exclusively
I don't
in movie
know.
theaters.
I have no clue.
Her I've seen in something else as well. I don't even know
He
what.
looks familiar. Hold on, I gotta look this up. I don't think he is. Oh my god, there's a guy from. Oh my god, he is. Oh my god, I was so right. Oh my god, I was so right. Holy. Oh my god, I was
What's
right. He's
up?
in this. Logan Lerman. Yeah,
Logan Lerman?
he's just
Logan-
named the Son. That's
The
it.
Son. Okay.
Yeah, but the guy who plays
Oh,
Hero
Logan-
in Heroes, the
wait,
guy
he's
who
in
plays
this?
Heroes in Heroes is in the. Yeah, he's the conductor, Masai
He's-
Oka.
Fuck yeah! I love that man. I never finished
Yeah.
Heroes, did you? Because I meant
I
to.
remember season 5, and then they did a reboot. Not a reboot, but they did a continuation, which thank God they didn't do a reboot.
Yeah,
Actually, I don't know if,
Reborn.
if it would be good if they did a reboot. Anyway, they did
Oh my
they
God,
did
that's
another
really fucking-
season of like after the fact, but then I haven't watched that.
I now know who that girl is from. She's from fucking Kissing Booth. Oh my god. I'm still sad that I had to sit through those. Did
Rip.
not. Those movies are bad. But yeah, no,
Rip,
Logan
rip.
Lerman, I love. He's so much fun in Percy Jackson.
Yeah, he was a good actor. The movies just sucked. I have beef with that movie, so
Mm-hmm.
I have beef. We'll never speak of it, but you know. All right. Well, it
It's-
is almost 8 o'clock,
True.
which we have spent 4 hours doing reviews and talking, and
We have. It was fun
I'm
though.
sure my voice. Yeah, I'm sure my voice would like to rest though. As much as I enjoy chit chatting and discussing stuff, it's like
I
it
understand.
is our time. It is our time.
Mhm. I think this is our longest one because
I think so too. Probably.
it usually only takes like an hour and a half to 2 hours to get through
Yeah.
everything. So
This one's doubled it, but it
Yes.
was fun. No, it was great.
It was.
Yeah, if you guys missed it, we talked about Schindler's List, which is a World War II historical drama
Yeah.
based around the real life event of a guy named Oskar Schindler who helped save the lives of about, I believe, 1,200 Jews during the Holocaust. And then we also watched Nausicaa of the Valley of
Yeah.
the Wind. I was going to say in the Valley of the Wind, but
In
of
the-
the Valley
it's-
in the Wind, which was like a, 1984?
1984, yes.
Yeah, 1984, 2 years before Studio Ghibli became a thing, but created by Miyazaki.
And I'm excited. I'm very excited for both these movies, but we got like for next month. But they are on the opposite ends of the spectrum. We
Yeah,
literally
total
have
opposite of the
a family
so.
kids movie and then a brutal assassin
Action.
comedy.
Mhm.
Like, I'm excited. That'll be fun.
Ooh.
But yeah, thank you very
yeah.
much for joining me, Alagaer. That was
Yeah,
that
it's
was a
no
lot of fun.
problem. And until the next one, because I'll be here back again next week.
Yep.
Devil
We're
Wears
at-
Prada.
We're
Let's
talking
go,
about
baby.
Devil Wears Prada, and then we're talking about. I had it in my head. Avengers Endgame.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, God,
another-
that's gonna be a long one.
Yeah, another almost 3-hour movie, and of course we get them in the same month. I don't even know how that happens. We have 73 other movies to choose from.
It is what it is. Oh, speaking of, I will say, probably I don't know when. 'Cause we'll see. Like next week is the first week of this week is the first week of December. Next week's the second. We might be able to do Paddington and Bullet Train in December, but then we'll have to be careful of
Yeah.
the holidays
We
that
will
are
have
coming
to.
up.
We
This
might have
is
to do those
busiest time of the
earlier.
year.
We might have to do
Yeah.
those earlier. Which means maybe like maybe we have to do 2 back-to-back on the week of the 11th.
Maybe.
might have to
Yeah.
do that.
Well, we'll see. We'll see what
Yeah.
everybody does, but
Oh, yeah, no.
all right.
This was
Well,
fun.
on
Thank
that
you very
note,
much.
I'm gonna head out. So you have a wonderful night.
Understandable. Have a good rest of your night as well.
You too. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Nice. Alright, guys. I'll let there's an ad playing, of course. But no, this was a lot of fun. I enjoyed talking about these movies. I think Schindler's List is a must watch, at least once for everybody. It's very historical and everything like that. I know I said I might play games. I didn't think this was going to be close to 4 hours long of a movie club. So, probably not going to play any games, but I'll be back. I should actually say this stuff after the ad break. I'm sorry. But yeah, we'll just... These 2 movies are really good, and I'm glad we did them. I know they were tougher. Like, I know Schindler's List was a much tougher subject to go on. And I know it's weird to have, like, VTubers talk about it, but it's important to talk about. It's history, and we need to learn from it, so yeah. Welcome back from the ad. I'm sorry. Sorry about the ad. I didn't mean it to end very close to one. But thank you everybody who came and watched. I know this was a tough one to get through. I know we had a very big discussion. It was a very tough talk. But it was an important one, and it's important to remember our history as humans and everything like that, and to learn from it. And so talking about these kinds of things is what movies are for. Me and Alagaer had 2 hours of just nonstop talking about a subject that, yes, is tough, but it took us over 2 hours to do it, and that's to get everything that we wanted to say, and even still, we could have gone for like another 2 more hours easily about the different dynamics that we see in this movie, the weird love that the Commandant had for Helen's fear that she lived in because she couldn't act out, otherwise she would be killed. We could have talked about more of the personal lives of everybody. We could have talked about more about Schindler's womanizing and all this different kinds of things. And so we could have easily gone another 2 hours explaining it, but it was a good talk, and I enjoyed it very much. But I hope you guys still enjoyed. I know it was a long and hard talk, but it was important and it was good. And then we got to wind down with Nausicaa. We had some fun with Nausicaa. We made some jokes. She's a Disney princess, which she truly is. You just see that. And you just have, a fun story with an environmental message in the end. So, but I hope you guys enjoyed. I'll be back tomorrow, obviously. We're doing... Alagaer's gonna be back as well. We're gonna have a lot of different people. We'll have Minnie, we'll have Taco, we'll have Zara, we'll have Emo, we'll have so many people will be on. We're gonna be playing Project Zomboid group again, so this is gonna be a continuation from last time. Maybe we get farther. I know we all were held up in a fire station. That's where we decided to make our base. So we're gonna just focus on doing that. We'll play some more. It'll be fun. Might die some. Won't be crowd control this time around, but that's alright. And that's about it. I'll see you tomorrow, and I can't wait. So Bye for now, and I'll see you then. See ya.